Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. We made it another week. Happy Friday, y'all. So, welcome to another episode of Freaky Friday on the Block with Jen. I'm YouTube's bad girl and your favorite devil's advocate, Jen. You can reach me on all social media platforms: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. More importantly, on the Block with Jen at Gmail. If you want to contact me personally about a topic, if you want to refer someone to me or recommend someone, if you want to collaborate, if you want to do an interview with me or want me to partake in an interview or on a panel, hit me on the Block with Jen at Gmail with your information. Okay. I can't do anything like, hey girl, what's up? Let's work together. I can't do anything with that. Okay. I can't do anything with that. I hope you enjoyed the week on the Block with Jen. I try to bring you the best content there is, no holds barred. Okay. We keep it raw here. It gets bumpy here. It hurts here, but it feels good after because it's like medicine. And we always mean well. I try to be as diplomatic as possible and keep the panel as fair as possible. But sometimes, you can't satisfy everybody, and I'm not trying to, right? I just try to be as fair as I possibly can. But sometimes people come with smoke and it gets too smoky for them. And no saint ain't trying to save them either, our resident fireman. So sometimes it gets smoky, but it's all good. Sometimes people just need to part, you know what I mean, and take a breather and come back. Everybody's welcome here, even the people that we get into verbal fisticuffs with. Long as no one was blatantly disrespectful, you're always welcome here on the block. Shit happens. There's a lot of tough talk here, and sometimes feelings get hurt. That is going to happen. Thank you so much for the super sticker. I don't want to mess up your name, so I'll just do the last one. Serpud, right? Haji, Serpud. Feel free to correct that. I'm really good at pronunciations, but that one got me a little bit. So I dropped the link if you guys want to come up. Tonight, Mr. Justin spins the block. And oh my goodness, if you missed the episode, the last time Mr. Justin pulled up, was it informative for men specifically? He is a dom coach, right? Meaning that he teaches men to be more dominant, which men really, really need in 2023 because, people think the feminization of men is pop stars wearing skirts. No, I believe the feminization of men has come forth with social media, right? It's made men, very, very feminine in nature, and they're constantly airing out their grievances and complaining about women, right? Complaining and nagging is usually something that's synonymous with women. Now it's more synonymous with men. We see this rise of men all over social media constantly complaining and nagging about women and what women shouldn't be doing. And they're constantly shaking their finger at women and what women should be, right? That's something that was exclusive to women. Remember back in the day? That was exclusive to us. We complained about every damn thing. Men should do this and men should do that. Now men have taken over that characteristic. And I got to say, sorry, guys, it's repulsive, right? So we need men like Mr. Justin and a couple of guys on our panel who let men know, no, this is what it is, right? This is what it is. I'm all for strong and silent. I talk about my father all the time. That's who my dad was in my life. So when I see guys that are kind of like catty and bitchy, throws me off, right? Because I'm like, that's not what I'm used to. That's not what I grew up with in my home. So it's gotten a little bizarre with the social media explosion. That doesn't mean that men shouldn't show emotion or even get emotional. That is a natural state, right? Of being emotional and showing emotion is not exclusive to women. Men should feel emotion. But I think the pendulum has swung to the other side and broken off to where men are now acting as bitchy and catty as women. I don't like it. So I'm going to continue bringing men to the panel who I think, right, would be a good guide and example for all the men out there who are following people that are lying to them and blowing smoke up their ass. So welcome, get comfy. This is Freaky Friday. Today should be fun. Today's topic is, what do women really want in bed? Really want. Now, you can use Google and what do women really want in bed? And it'll pull up a Cosmopolitan article or a Glamour magazine article, and it'll give you, the cute stuff like women want men to make noise in bed. Women want men to be confident. Women want men to use toys. No. It goes way, way deeper than that. It's a little more psychological than that. And we're not gonna sugarcoat it. Let's talk about tonight what women really want in bed. The shit we tell our girlfriends. that our husbands don't know? Let's really talk about that. What do women really, really, really want? I also think there's a cultural difference in what women want, right? Mr. Justin is white. We are not, right? No Saint is white. We're not. Haran DeMarco is black. Okay. So we're going to bring some people up and see if there are cultural differences in the women and what they want, right? We're not a monolith. Women are not a monolith. So let's see. I think I do pretty good at bringing people on the panel from all walks of life. So let's share, each one teach one. You know how I feel about that. So while we wait on Mr. Justin, because I do believe he is working until he is not, until he is with us, I'll start bringing up my people. And I see a lovely lady backstage. So ladies first. Hello, Brienne.
Hi.
How are you doing? I love that background. And how's Bunny? How's our block baby?
Bunny is doing awesome. Sleeping on Daddy's chest right now, so I can be online and do my thing. In the background, he actually made this for me for Valentine's Day, so I was like, I need a new background. So
no, it's amazing. I love it. I love it. I like the neon light too. So let's bring up our guys. Haran DeMarco, how are you, darling? Hey, I'm putting on the H's tonight, like hello. It's Freaky Friday. It's Freaky Friday, so we got to give you some Maryland. No Saint, how are you, sir?
Hello.
Hi. How are you? How are you? George Cook with the early super chat says, I'm looking forward to tonight's show. You're doing yeoman's work? Who's that? Who's yeoman? I'm not familiar. Help me out.
Yeah. Yeoman is like a Navy term. It means you're doing, it's also a saying. It's also a saying. Like you're doing yeoman's work means you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you. Salute. Thank you kindly. Thank you kindly. Yeah, I like having these panels because we can smut it out and talk about ass and tits and stuff, but it's deeper than that, right? I think these streams actually help people. They help people in the bedroom. They help people with their relationships. At the very least, it gives you more to think about when you're, partaking in an intimate relationship with your partner. So each one teach one, and you guys feel free to share. Like Mr. Justin's coming up to give us his knowledge, but we've all experienced things, right? We've all been in relationships. We've all been in love. So if you want to throw something out there, or even I'm really interested in the cultural differences type of thing, because I don't think women are monoliths. So I'm wondering, are there differences between the races and ethnicities of what they want in bed, or is it an individual thing? Do life experiences, play a factor? Of course, Mr. Justin's going to go deeper with it because, he is in a lifestyle that is a lot more psychological, intimately than our average relationships, right? Because and Haran, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but in the whole BDSM world with the dom and sub, I think it's a much, much deeper connection with someone because you're constantly testing each other's trust, right? And permissions and things like that. Whereas, a regular relationship, which I've been in, I've partaken in. It's just, hey, me and you, we love each other. We rock together. We have sex sometimes, and we keep pushing. But there's not this intense, like, can I do this? Can I do that? Can I push your limits, right? Rarely are regular relationships that way. And that's why I'm intrigued by this subject in particular, because this is all about pressing buttons, pressing psychological buttons.
Absolutely. A lot of times I tell people, and it might sound a bit morbid, but it's akin to surviving a life-threatening experience with another person.
Oh.
And the reason why I say that is because when, I don't know if any of you have ever been in such a case, we can use soldiers as an example. Mm-hmm. You could have literally just met each other 5 minutes ago. But 5 minutes later, if you're literally in a life-threatening situation with each other, and you're depending on each other, and you're putting your lives in each other's hands, and you come out of that unscathed, you and that person are bonded for life. So in many ways, in the BDSM world, what happens is that through the culture, what happens is that you learn things about people that they might not have shared with anyone else. Or maybe they discovered just with you.
Right.
So there's a piece of themselves and a knowledge of themselves that is fully associated with you. You, after being with you, you being with them, you might become a completely different person. You literally might evolve into a completely different person. And when and if that ends, yes, it's a lot more impactful and at times can be a lot more damaging than
Damaging.
I can say for the, yeah, Jen, Jen, if I had you hanging upside down over a fucking chandelier, feeding you grapes, we just don't break up. You know what I mean? Even if we do, even if we do break up, you know what I mean? There's still this element of like, yeah, but I was the only guy that had you swinging around a fucking chandelier and putting butter on you or some shit like that. You know what I mean?
So you think
whatever.
that,
There's
okay.
still that element.
So that's interesting. So you think that a BDSM, a Dom sub relationship, do you think that they're more impactful mentally after a breakup?
Yeah, because first of all, it's not just the scenes themselves that that bond you. It's what they mean. Like for instance, some people take a long time to agree to bondage. Like bondage is a big thing for people. Not because it's not the bondage itself. It's the psychology of being constrained.
Right.
And not being free. And the psychology of not being constrained can trigger trust issues.
Right.
Those can trigger trust issues. Now,
right. I don't like the idea of bondage. It's not.
See, that's what I'm saying. Now, that is what I'm saying right there. I can already see just by your body language, your facial expressions, just the idea of not being free, of being constrained, of losing that ability and power and giving that up. For you, that is the ultimate sign of trust and submission itself. Nothing even has to happen after that. Just the idea of like, handcuff me to a fucking chair and I'm not going to do anything. Like that itself. And I can just be like, I'm not going to do anything to you. Then that itself is just a barrier. This is why I'm saying
absolutely. Like, I don't mind being, manhandled and constrained with your hands. But the whole like, right. Like the whole, like, you're going to tie me up and wait a minute.
But see, now that's what I'm saying. Now that this is why interviews need to be had. Me personally, I ask these questions because I look at your body language. I look like it's very hard to keep a poker face when you're facing your triggers. Because because your body literally reacts. You know what I mean? It's like, oh man, like, you know what I mean? Like your fucking neck starts throbbing, you know what I mean, with veins and shit like that. It's like all these things start happening. So I ask about bondage. I ask about how, you know what I mean, I tell them this is how I want to be referred to, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. And I see.
How do you want to be referred to? Give me an example.
It depends on how I see the potential submissive.
So give me an example.
But usually I say either master or daddy. That's for me.
Master or daddy. Okay.
Yeah.
Now is it who would me personally? Okay, so like give me the difference between two women that you would appoint. You call me daddy and you call me master. Like what are the differences in those two women that you would say this one needs to call me master and this one needs to call me daddy?
It's the level of submission that I believe that a person is ready for.
So which one is more hardcore, master or daddy? Master, I would think master, right? Master.
Yeah, okay. Because that's complete and utter submission. That is a soul connection.
That to me is sexier. I think that's sexier. If I was going to submit, right? I like the master thing.
Yeah, but you see, that's to you that's sexier. But what it entails is you might be like, whoa. You know,
wait, then all right. Then baby steps, pineapples. What would it entail?
Okay, all right. Well, it would entail you agreeing to bondage. That's one of the things.
Oh, okay.
Bondage. That's one of the things.
Mhm.
I'd have to put you through the steps of sensory deprivation.
Okay.
See how relaxed are you if I remove a set of senses from you? How relaxed are you if I remove a degree of power from you? And
Is there
usually
any
I get
drinking?
involved with
Is there any
no.
drinking involved?
Well,
There's
it
no
could
drinking
be.
involved.
It could be. Sometimes my girls they might want to drink or whatever, but I don't get you sloshed out and messy and
Okay.
drunk. You know what I mean? I
Okay.
want you as coherent as possible.
Right. I think that would be best. Don Levon asks an interesting question. He said, "So is the bonding during BDSM a version of trauma bonding?"
That could be it too. Sometimes it happens. Yeah.
Hmm.
Sometimes it happens.
Hmm.
Sometimes that happens.
So
Because if
let
you think
so
about it,
uh-huh.
like for instance, if you don't mind me saying, a minute ago, you accused me of always, looking to save some damn body. You know what I mean?
Are
But
we talking about
that,
our DMs right now? No,
right
sir.
now, I'm using that as an example, though. But you were right
Okay.
about that. You were right about that. And the reason why I'm saying you're right about that is because innately, I have a thing in me that wants to protect, even though there's an
Okay.
element of sadism. So there's an element of sadism also. So there's
Okay.
this thing in me that wants to protect, save you from yourself, blah blah blah, and create this situation where you submit fully and you submit without fear. Now, if it's toxic, dominance.
Mm-hmm.
If it's toxic, if the person seems as if they don't know what they're doing, the
Mm-hmm.
submissive is not going to feel comfortable. She's not going to
Okay.
feel as if this is a safe space for her to be who she wants to be. I'll give you an
Okay.
example.
All
I'll give
right.
you another
I can
example.
understand that. See, I thought you were just being more empathetic than necessary. Cause I'm like, throw the baby out the bathwater, the parents, the everything, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, there comes a
It,
time when you have to do that. There comes a
mhm.
time when you have to do that. You know what I mean? I
I'm like,
totally agree.
if you're interrupting what I deem as the greater good, because I'm like you, I'm like I'm a very I'm a mother hen, right? And I feel like
Yes, you
when
are.
people are trusting me with whatever it is, their time or whatever, I'm like I have
Mhm,
to protect, right? So if there's one
mhm.
person, even if I like that one person, if you're being disruptive to everybody, if you're the odd person out, I'm like, you gotta go, right?
You're absolutely correct.
But you're more
Now,
empathetic than
necessary,
I am.
I can be because it's a thing where it's like, see, that's the patriarchal energy of me. It's like a
Okay.
coach. Sometimes a coach, if you ever, what I mean, been into sports, sometimes a coach understands that this person does have a particular degree of potential. And maybe this person needs a little push. Maybe they're not ready, what I mean, so on and so forth. I've done this with musicians, I've done this with people in my band.
Okay.
Maybe this person needs this and that in order to really bloom. Motherfucker might be better than everybody in the room. They just never really had the platform, or they just don't believe in themselves enough. Or
Haran got a heart.
sometimes it's just
Haran got a heart. That's
anyway.
a great. No, listen. I think it's great to. It's like a yin and a yang. It's great to have
Mhm.
someone that thinks like that, especially around me.
Oh
I
yeah, I
do.
mean, Necessary Evil said something very poignant though. She said if any dom makes a sub feel anxious or nervous, she needs to run. That's absolutely correct.
Oh, okay. See that's actually that makes me feel better because I think I would automatically be on edge around someone who's gonna tell me what to do and tie me up. So I'd be like,
Hmm.
yeah, no,
Right. Like
yeah,
I
no.
wouldn't jump into tying you up. Like, yeah, you gonna come by, we gonna tie you. I'm like, no. There might be
Right.
a
What are you doing?
while
What is
before I
that
even
rope?
try.
What is that rope?
Right, exactly. It might be
So
a
necessary.
whole time before. It might be 6, 7 months, a year before I even go down that road.
That
Because
makes sense.
I need to feel it. It's a feeling. It's a feeling like, okay, I believe she's ready to at least try this and see what goes on over there. Now, when I believe that you're ready, yeah, I'll pull the ripcord off though. You know
Okay.
what I mean?
So necessary evil says she refers to her dom as sir. I like that too. I like sir. I like
Mhm.
master. George Cook says, I refer to my dom as mistress or sometimes goddess. I would like goddess. Call me goddess. Bitch. So I want to ask the two gentlemen on the panel. Brianna, unless you want to jump in and say something. Are you still listening?
Yeah, I'm still listening.
Okay, cool.
I think some of the stuff is a little easier when you're like not married, because you can kind of, I guess, experiment in a way that you're trying things out. When you're married, you kind of know just about everything about your spouse. So it's like, what's your favorite? We got 10 minutes. Now we have a baby. Okay, we got 15 minutes before we got to go clean, pump, or try and shower and eat. So I think that spontaneity is really fun, especially when we first started dating. Everything was fun and exciting. But now it's like time scheduled. So when you're on a schedule like that, I don't know how feasible that is.
Yeah.
But it is fun when you first start dating.
Absolutely. And when couples go through phases, and I think the couples that do well and last forever are the ones that accept, like, okay, I was with you as a single person, that I was a different version of me, right? As a single person. Now you're with me as a parent. And that's a different person. Me as a parent is different than me as a single woman. And I think partners that accept that you change, right? That, okay, this is me when I never worked outside the home. That's a different woman. Well, guess what? Now I have a job outside the home. That's a different woman. And I think couples that have that longevity accept the phases, right? That you go through as your personality changes, as you learn more things, as you become wiser. Necessary Evil, thank you for the super chat, Mama. Necessary Evil says, my dom was the first person to teach me that sex wasn't just for the man's pleasure. And I was married many years before that. Ouch. I do want to ask the two gentlemen on the panel, I'll put you in the hot seat. Okay, let's see what y'all know. No saint. Put out this fire, baby. Okay. What do you think, if anything? You may be like, I don't know. What, and men in the chat as well. Since tonight's topic is, what do women really want in bed? Do you think that you have an up on other men? Do you have some sort of information? Do you think that you know what women want in bed that other men don't know? It could be one thing. It'll be one thing that you know that women want in bed that you're like, the majority of men don't know this shit, but I do because I've taken women there. You can throw it in the chat. You can say it on the panel. Are you going to pass the mic, No Saint?
Man, I think George should be up here. George sounds like he's got it down pat the other day when he was talking.
George said he's going to hang in the chat.
He had them 12 steps.
He sure did, though. Then George started throwing his cards out on the table, this and this, and I do that and I do that. He has 7 steps or something.
George,
but he said he's gonna.
George is on. He's sneaky. He's sneaky. He sounds like he may be. He has a certain look, but I don't think it matches his personality. No. Yeah, I'll pass the mic.
Okay, that is fine. I'm sure Harana.
I don't act like I know everything. I certainly don't want to act like I know. I think I know more than other men know about the one thing.
Okay, we're learning. We're all learning. I'm still learning. Haran, what say you? Oh, Necessary Evil said my dom sub relationship was the safest I ever felt with a man. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, my one up that I have over most men is that it really exists outside of the bedroom. I let women know that I can be your diary, which means that you can expel all of your secrets to me, and we can be in the bedroom, and there'll be absolutely no judgment as to what you're into, the life you might have led before me, so on and so forth, whatever. And in my experience, when you create that element of safety, when you create that element of no judgment, where a woman can be herself entirely, that is when you really know and understand and begin to learn the woman that you're with. Because a lot of women have been married to the same guy for years, and maybe they showcase 60 to 70% of themselves because they feel that at other 30 or 40%, if they show that, it's going to be met with judgment. It's going to be met with all kinds of, ideas and so on and so forth. I mean, most guys don't even want a girl who's had sex with more than 6 guys. Like
Right.
a grown woman, like a grown 40-year-old woman. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, how dare she have more than, have sex with more than 5 guys? Like, okay, but the point of the matter is that we live in a society when women aren't seen and allowed to be sexual beings. They're not allowed to have fetishes, kinks, and so on and so forth. So when you create a space where that is allowed and encouraged, then you tend to have what they say a one up on other guys.
I think that's an amazing point, because I always say that's what made Drake so popular. He was if not the first, the only rapper who repeatedly had hit records allowing women, accepting women to be, the quote unquote hoe or slut or whatever. I mean, he literally had lyrics that said, how can I judge you when I know I've been X, Y, and Z? Right. And I said, oh, this kid is going to kill. He is going to kill on the charts, because women want to be accepted for being sexual creatures. And here this guy is, who's it's not like an ogre saying it. It's not like a man that was unsuccessful or unattractive. You have, if Drake is your style, he's generally attractive, right? He's successful. He has a lot of money. He can have whatever he wants. And here he is, dando de la razón, which is basically like, giving women their right and their reason to be exactly the sexual beings that they are. And I was like, oh, this dude's going to blow up. He's going to blow up. And, women spend more than men. So I was like, he's going to blow up. And not exactly what he did. Like, I mean, so much so that there was a joke out, Drake wouldn't treat me that way. There was a running joke like that. Like, Drake wouldn't treat me that way. I have strippers in my life, but they're virgins to me. That's deep. And I still say that's what led to a lot of his popularity. He was always putting, the strippers on the pedestal, all the women that supposedly should have had the scarlet letter on them. He was always praising them, putting them on a pedestal. And when you go ahead.
No, I was gonna say.
If you notice,
no, I was just gonna say. I mean, that's for just personally in my own experience. I never cared if there was a stripper or what they did. Like, like I need to know all that. Like, that's going to change the way I feel about somebody, like, that I get to know. Like, if I find out they had, whatever number of people, they were a stripper or whatever, maybe they were selling it at one point. I don't really need to know, but it doesn't really to me, I've always been able to not overlook, that's even a bad word, just not really, it just didn't bother me. Like, whatever your life was in the past, whatever situation you might have been in that you felt, or maybe you just wanted to do it, that for me. But I do realize that most people in this, most males don't feel that way. Most males have issues, but I really think that a lot of the issues they have, it may just be insecurity. I don't know. Maybe they feel like, that it's really hard for me to contemplate, because it's not the way I view things. So it's hard for me to know why. But yeah, there's a lot of that. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ron.
Ron, you was going to say something, or?
Oh yeah. If you think about it, though, every man throughout history and entertainment, using Drake as an example, in modern times, he might be the one seeing that, okay, this is the first guy that, allowed, basically just created this space where women can be themselves in entertainment and in music. Now, but before that, L was the first dude like in hip hop who was just making records for women and just being sensitive, period. You know what I mean? And you can just see that throughout time. You know, Tupac, you know what I mean? He made records for the women too. You know what I mean? But he was a different kind of, you know what I mean, dude, not per se a Drake, but he was a different kind of sensitivity. The point of the matter is that, you know, history has shown us that women enjoy men who who are balanced in some degree with, you know what I mean, masculine and somewhat, sensitive energy to a degree, you know. And a good example of this, another good example of this, is that women always bring this up. They use Bane as an example of the kind of guy they're attracted to. You know, who on one hand is this mass murdering sociopath, but he did it for the love of a woman. You know, that's very attractive to some people, you know what I mean, to a lot of women that I've actually spoken to. You know, so there's that element of, yes, they want this masculine, you know, dominant man, but he also has to have that space for them to exist in their softness and their femininity.
I'm trying to figure out what Justin, okay. Thank you, Jabari Bryant, for the super chat. Jabari says, I know I say this every time, but I'm just showing love and buying you a smoothie. I have to get back to it. Have a good show. Thank you so much, Jabari. Jabari just drives by, man. He hasn't been up here in a while.
Yeah, man, that motherfucker building the time machine over there. I don't know what it is. I gotta hit him up.
Time machine.
You gotta
really quickly, and then I'll pass the mic. I think traditionally marriage is vanilla. It's vanilla. It's for two people who want to come together, who want to live a normal life, who want to raise normal children, who want to pay a normal amount of bills, who want to grow old together, who want to go to long walks in the park and dinner and celebrate anniversaries and Valentine's Day and make love, right? That's how I see marriage. It is a vanilla situation. What I think the problem with marriage is not marriage itself, is people who are not vanilla and go and do the vanilla traditional thing. And then they're in there looking at their wife like, why doesn't she twerk? Why doesn't she wear the lingerie that I saw in that porn movie? Why doesn't she give me spontaneous sex or head, right? Well, that's not what you entered into. You entered into a traditional marriage, and marriage is good for raising money and raising babies and building a life with each other. What you wanted, sir, was something else. And there you are sitting on the couch with a ring on, right? In a situation you don't want to be in. And I think that's the problem with marriage. I don't think something's wrong with marriage itself. I think the people that go into marriage expecting something other than the list I gave, very traditional, AKA vanilla, right? Expecting something else. No. Then what you don't want is marriage, right? So what say you? I think that they want to be single. I think a lot of them are polyamorous. I think a lot of them want to explore sexuality. That's what I think. I think that's what they really want. But tradition and religion will have you venture into a marriage because, you know, that's what humans do. They get married, they have children, they work, they get their 401k, and then they die. That's the tradition of the regular human being. And then there are people who go against the grain and they're like, I'm not having kids, I'm not getting married. I think it's smart to know who you are. And a lot of people go into marriage not knowing who they are. And then they find out 3 years later that they're not marriage material. And then now you're headed toward divorce and all kinds of crazy things. Now there's kids involved. It's a mess. But I think it comes from people not straying from tradition and finding out who they really are. And that takes time, right? Who I was in my teens, in my 20s, I would even say mid-30s, was very much my father's child. I was very much my father's child. The whole lens was my father. My critique of other human beings was my father in my head. Everything, my fight, my vitriol, my violence. I was my father's child. And then I got older and I was like, what is this religion thing about? Let's take a look at it, Jen. What the fuck is this? Who is this God? What is this Christian? What is this? Do we care about that? Let's go visit a few churches and see what it is. Right. And then you start exploring. And then I started thinking, you know what I mean? Traditional marriage and long-term relationships. I've been in 3. I gave most of my life to long-term relationships, right? And commitment. I got older. I'm like, do I even want this? Do I want to be long-term with one person? Probably not. I'm a social butterfly. I like experimenting. I want to jump out of planes. Doesn't really fit in traditional marriage, especially the marriages that men like to have. Because we've heard guys say up here over and over again, I would do X, Y, and Z. I can't do it with my wife. Right? So men don't want to be married to that type of woman. So I couldn't be in a marriage because the majority of men, right, aren't going to be cheering at their wife dancing on the table, pulling her shirt up. No, but they'll go hang out with that girl, but they don't want to marry that girl, right? So that's why I'm like, let me just stay alone instead of, like I said before to George, getting with somebody and trying to change them. Trying to change their nature, trying to change that man to like the girl that's dancing on the table. Because I'm the girl dancing on the table if I feel like it. Right? And men, they go into it like, well, I want to be with you anyway. And then the night comes when I'm dancing on the table after a couple shots. And all the guys are like, eh. And then he's like, I don't think I like this after all. But it was fun in the beginning. So there's nothing wrong with marriage. I think there's something wrong with people going into marriage and thinking that it's going to accommodate who they truly, truly are. So I think you have to find out who you truly are. The problem is that you have to get married young if you're a woman because you have to bear children, right? Biological clocks, you have to bear children. But then you get older, right? Hindsight is 2020. And then you're thinking, I don't really want this. And that's okay too, because people grow, you know what I mean? And change and things like that. Hello, Shelly. Yes, honey.
All right.
How are you, beautiful?
All right. Now it's
He said, now it's a party. And we are waiting on Lily. Lily is working, so she's running late. So I told her we're going to hold it down for you.
Yes.
Hi, Shelly. Welcome. Before we pass the mic, thank you for the super chat. Necessary Evil always holding me down in the chat. She says, my career path kept me in a position of power. At the end of the day, I was ready to relinquish power to my dom. My desire to please him fueled me.
We said, at the same time. I'm like,
The show must go on. This is show business.
I was going to add to what you said about unrealistic expectations in marriage. I think it's really important to figure all of that out because we did premarital counseling and then counseling after being married. And one thing I believe Haran said at one point was there are certain things you don't feel you can do with your husband. So at one point, if I'm telling my husband a fantasy and I'm like scared of his reaction, he'll be like, oh, I didn't know you thought like that. Let's try it. It'll surprise you if you actually at least bring up the conversation. That happened, I want to say 6 months into our marriage where I told him I wanted to try something. And he was like, oh, I didn't know you thought like that. But he always said he liked that I was quote unquote the boring girl. If there was music or drinks, I would maybe have one drink and just sit and watch everyone else. He was like, I like that about you because every other girl, again, shirt off, dancing on the table, shots. And he just liked that I was sitting. So for instance, if we were out and you were my friend, I would be the one like, go get it, girl. Go have fun. I'll take the picture for you. I'll take the video for Instagram for you. But I'm sitting my butt down and watching everybody. And then I'm the one driving everyone home. So he liked that about me. But of course, those girls he's dated, it was fun. But again, like you said, that's not the type of person he wanted to marry. He had his fun in his 20s. When it was time to lock it down, he's like, okay, I want the most boring, one that sews, the one that knows how to cook. So,
right. And how long have you been married now, Brianne?
4 years.
4 years. Okay, you guys are still new. Yeah, and I love when Lily says, it takes all kinds of women to make the world go round. And I commend you for doing counseling before. Right. And then doing counseling after, because usually counseling is damage control. And by the time you get there, you know what I mean? It's usually over. People are set in their ways and their feelings and their resentment. So it's very smart that you did it before. I recommend that completely, because even though you're not an older person, right, at least you explore who you are in the beginning. And that's very, very important. So I just pulled up What Women Want in Bed, 20 Things You Should Know. And this is from marriage.com. So this is advice for married folk. This isn't like from, playboy.com. This is from marriage.com. Number one is, and you guys could jump in at any point in time. Don't let me get long-winded. Number one, having confidence in yourself. Women want men who have confidence in themselves, okay? Not the guys that jump in the room and click the light off. I've had that happen to me. I'm like, what are you afraid of me seeing? Should have been in the gym.
I mean, this is wild, man.
But you get what you see.
Mm-hmm.
You get what you see.
Mm-hmm. What do you
If
think
you're gonna
about
show up
that,
with a
guys?
gut, you better be proud of that gut. Hey, man, you're gonna show up with a gut, you better be proud of it.
18 years. For 18
How long?
18 long years. But
long.
it's long because
Dang.
you meet somebody, they're this person that want, when you get them, when you're out with them and you're having fun, and like she did, the young lady just said, I don't see her name, but
Brienne.
You're having fun and you're doing all this stuff before you get married. So you're thinking you're going to get this guy and I'm the girl. And then when you go into this covenant, it changes. Now they want missionary sex. Now they want you to lay still. Now they don't want you to be sucking a little longer, or the dynamic changes a lot. And I did counseling too. Before I filed for divorce, I did counseling, but I had to sit it down, and I was like, you losing what I felt, what I loved. Like,
so you did counseling towards the end?
In the beginning and in the end.
In the beginning. Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah, because when we went to court, because we was married so long, the judge was like, well, you got to go back. I think y'all could work it out. Because if you have one party that's not willing to divorce you, you gonna be stuck trying to divorce him. So he did that, and it was still the same. It was like, you want to go out and get the girls in the street that's doing what you don't want me to do,
right?
In the bed anymore. But this is how you got me. This is what I was attracted to. This is, it was part of that package. Now you done pull the package and you want me to remain the same. And then I got bored. I got bored and I got tired. And I didn't cheat. I told him. I sat him down and had a long conversation. And I was like, I'm getting ready to do me. You might want to figure this out. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to see people.
Did you file? Did you file for divorce?
I filed that he wouldn't sign them.
See, 75 to 80% of the time.
3 years in the
What is the reason for that?
Huh? He wouldn't leave.
There's a reason for that, and I have a theory.
What's the theory?
Any guy can challenge me on this shit. A lot of dudes don't want to admit this shit, but the reason why 80% of women leave and file for divorce is because most men aren't going to file for divorce because we take a financial hit.
No, it wasn't even like that, because
no, wait a minute. Let me finish for a second. That's not your particular situation, but I'm just talking about divorce period. I was really saying something in regards to Jen when she was saying like 80% of women file for divorce. Now, if men can cut the cord for free, trust me, those statistics would change real quick. Dudes would hop out of in and out of marriages like every 3 to 6 months, most likely.
So you think that 80%? So you think that 80% of husbands are fucking broke and are gonna suffer after divorce? Is that what we're saying?
What I'm saying,
the numbers are kind of skewed.
A lot of them do.
You know what I mean? What I'm saying is that the main thing that most men think about when the idea of divorce comes up, is how much money am I going to lose? Am I going to lose access to my children? Am I going to lose this? How much am I going to lose? How I'm going to lose? You know what I mean? What am I going to lose? You know what I mean? And for this is how this shit gets better, because in their minds they're like, okay, I'm going to lose all this shit, and she's going to gain everything.
And you're going to gain everything.
You know what? Right, exactly. So in their mind, they're like, you know what? I'm not even fucking. I'm gonna just go through the rest of this fucking marriage as miserable
and we have to add another factor. We have to add another factor, and then I want to pass the mic to Brienne because she was saying something. But we have to add another factor. I feel like in divorce, like women, they're ready to live their second life. They got their second win. They are free. Men are more like I'm settled. I don't want to go dance on tables. Where a woman in her 40s and 50s will get with her 5 girlfriends and get her groove back, go to Jamaica, and you know what I mean, be up at party, and the men will be like, I don't want to go to Jamaica.
I'm gonna give you a funny situation. Wait 1 second, no.
Wait, before we do that, let's pass it back to Brianne because we did interrupt.
Okay.
No, I was going to say really quick, the number everyone's been pushing around, like the 80%, that's just the Black community. It's 70% for all other ethnicities and backgrounds, but 80% is actually just Black women filing for divorce. So when they say 80%, it's just the Black community, but 70% is every other background added together, because there are different statistics, like the Census Bureau, but then blackdemographics.com. So those are different, but it's a good amount. 10%.
Yeah, it's still a lot of women. Like it's still a lot of women with the
be miserable. Like if you put, my mom told me don't go into marriage doing something you're not going to continue doing. So I didn't. I went in doing the things that I knew I was supposed to do. But if you're losing yourself in it, and you're no longer happy, why stay to even the bed's not done anymore, the household's falling down, you're barely talking to each other, walking around the house. It becomes like you don't want to cheat, but then in your mind you done slept with everybody in your head already.
Right.
Because
so I guess men are more tolerant of unhappiness than women are, like Jordan Peterson said. They're more tolerant of being unhappy.
Yeah.
Heard him say that before, and
they're more long suffering.
Right. Every statistic says that men don't look for like outside happiness. They're okay with just their beer and their TV show. And I don't necessarily.
Wow.
You're right.
Listen like this. Listen like this.
No, she's telling the truth.
Listen like this. If most men, and I'm guilty of it, if most men are willing to hold on to that fucking holy fucking t-shirt from college.
Yeah.
Decades, do you think they ain't gonna hold on to you if it's gonna cost them basically everything in their bank account? They will glue and staple themselves to your ankle. You know what I mean? Like, no, this is we're gonna see this. I'm going to die in this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, men don't like divorce though. I would agree with that. They don't like to get divorced. And let me tell you, my ex-husband, if he was on this panel, I never took nothing. I let him take everything, every piece of furniture. All I wanted was my little peace of mind. I was like, he took the curtains, and I had the kids. He took the curtains, the kitchen tables. He split the forks and the knife that his mom bought, and my mom bought. He went down and I told him, I said, when you leave,
that's just petty.
And you close that
door. Knives and forks. That's some petty shit, man.
It was that petty because he was that petty.
Wow. Not the forks, though.
The table that the kids.
Who the fuck took the curtains? He took the shower curtain?
Yeah, the table. And I just sat there and I cried because that part I got hurt because I didn't expect that because I always wasn't taking child support. I wasn't the typical Black bitter girl. Like I can get that from you, I can get that. And he made good money. But I was like, I make good money. I can take care of my kids. I brought them here in this world. But when he took the table in the kitchen, boy, I thought I was gonna fall out. And then my kids were standing there watching, it was ugly.
That's terrible. Not good. Not in front of the babies.
So I think that everybody that said something on the panel about this all have truth. I mean, I think what Brianne said a few minutes ago was facts. We can, guys can be happy. Like that's why I was doing a 2 thumbs up. Yeah, we can find happy. But I will say this, and what Haran was saying is absolutely truth because people don't realize this is how in my mind, like I've got this vision of what I'm going to do to, be able to retire and do things I want to do. And I'm bringing everybody else along with me. And then somebody else can take the legs out from under you. So it's not just you're paying alimony, you're paying child support. Suddenly, there's some people who, in America it's different, but let's just say people come in and they don't think about, like my dad always programmed into me. You got to save, 20% of your income. You got to do this, you got to do that. Well, not everybody gets taught that. So then you're thinking to yourself, well, wait up, I did everything right. And now this judge is going to say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and cripple your 401k by taking half of everything you've been saving your whole life and give it to someone who hasn't done anything.
Yep.
And but I understand what the law is for. I understand that, there are women who are the home, who maybe didn't get a career going till late. I understand they're trying to make it fair. Like, well, this person sat there at home with the kids while you were out working, so she has entitlement to it too. I get all those. So you got that aspect. And then another aspect is that, like both of you said, or all three, but she's married and she's in a good marriage. But the fact that, like you were saying, you were ready to go and start your new life. And in my opinion, it's a lot tougher for a guy to do. Like women, when women are ready to go, and Jenna said this, they're ready to go. So like 2 weeks after they leave you, they're out.
Yeah.
They're out
because
partying.
we left 6 months ago.
Right. And so guys look at it like, I don't want to, you're in a different place too as a guy, and you're like, oh my God, it's a lot harder.
Look, listen.
Not for all guys, but for some guys, it's a lot harder to go out there and just like women have options. Like Jen always says, women have options. Guys have options. Guys have to hunt.
You're supposed to hunt.
Yeah, but guys have to hunt and go through a lot of maybe rejection, maybe not Haran, but I'm just speaking,
It was hard. It's hard to be, when they say if you can stay in a marriage for 5 years, that you're going to make it past the hump. When you get to 15, 16, you vested. You vested. I thought about it over, and you're right. You're right. When you said that, Jen, I left 6 months ago. In my mind, I was gone already. I was just doing the routine of a wife. Come home, cook, clean, and take. That's how it became. Laying down, open my legs, have sex when he won't. And then it just got like a routine. It got too routine for me. So I was just miserably unhappy. I was like, no, I can't do this. This is not
okay. So Lily is on her. Lily is on her way up, and then I want to get back on topic.
But Jen, real quick, what was she say? She's like, she left 6 months ago, man. I was just about to say something.
What?
No. I don't know. I was to what she was saying, but I lost it. It may come back to me.
It'll come back. Don says women can start over almost instantly. Yeah. Men, it will take time to recover from a divorce. Yeah, I mean, y'all think it's instant, but we left 6 months prior. That's why y'all think it's instant, because you think the separation is actually when we started. We started 6 months ago, seething, looking at you, eating your Cheerios. Like,
this is the problem. But you see, that's the point, though. You know what I mean? Here's the huge difference. You left 6 months ago, so that means you had a 6 month head start.
Yeah.
You probably went to the gym. You probably started going to the gym. You probably started
talking to our girlfriends.
Telling her about
all that. You figuring out the hairstyle you're gonna have the day you get divorced. You probably got
talking about talk about the guy at the grocery store. Yes.
The dude, like dude, and most men. Here's the problem with a lot of men, and me and my guys talk about it a lot of times. As men, you have to constantly.
Wait. We need to bring up Lily so we can finish the party. Always lovely and talented Lily from YB Limited. Hello, darling. Yes, give me hair.
Hey, I've been listening to you all the whole time. I was on the train and trying to get back, so I'm caught up.
Well, we're really happy that you made it, and I love that hair. I love the color.
This is Tiffany. This is my baby's favorite.
I like Tiffany.
Tiffany done been through a lot, y'all, child. Tiffany done been through some things.
Tiffany got thrown across the room a couple times.
Yeah, boy. I was like, Freaky Friday. Yeah, Tiffany, you on board. This your topic, girl.
Oh my God. So we veered into marriage, but I'm gonna bring it back because tonight's episode is what do women really want in bed? And that's what people are lurking for. So the first one was confidence in the bed. We want men to be confident. And I joked about, men who like take you in the room and reach over you and turn the lights off, right? So I'm like, I don't know. I don't think that's a very confident thing to do, but okay. Some people like doing it in the dark.
They don't want you to see something.
Right. They feel more confident in the dark. I think it's cute. I think it's cute. It's like, oh, how cute. You can't do it with the lights on. I think it's cute.
That used to be me.
In the beginning.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think we're all like that in the beginning, and then after a while, I'm telling you that listen, a lot of people throw dirt on it, but this getting older thing is real good. It's real nice. It's real nice. It's
like
real
no,
nice.
like so good to the point that when you're talking to a younger person in their 20s and 30s, do you ever be like, better you than me? Like, I wouldn't go back.
I'm like, I always, because you can't rush anyone. There's phases, right? We couldn't be rushed. But when I do hear their stories, I'm like, oh, you poor thing. In 20 years, you're going to give 0 fucks.
Right.
0. You're not going to give a damn. You're
Right.
going to be throwing your boobs over your shoulder like, come on, are we doing it or not? Because I got shit to do.
Right.
Okay?
Exactly.
It gets better every decade, I swear.
It does. It does. We love the youngins though. They keep us young. Really, the stories keep us young.
Heck yeah.
So 2, joint initiative. Joint initiative. There's a myth that one person has to take control. Women want sex where 2 people are in control at the same time. I don't know about that, but that's what it says here in marriage.com. That's what it says here.
I had a joke. I'm about to say, are we talking heterosexual relationships? It sounds like one of those births. Yeah. Okay, I'm the top, you the bottom, top.
I mean, Lily, you can elaborate. You can elaborate on your world. Elaborate, hey, we're here for it.
Well, it's not much elaboration because I'm strictly dickless, so I don't know what to elaborate on too much. But let's keep the list going.
Okay, number 3, what women want to hear in bed. If you're not making any noises to show that a woman is making you feel good and satisfying your needs, it isn't very reassuring for her, as it wouldn't be for you. So just like men like noise, says here, marriage.com, women like to hear what you're feeling. Now, some men are like, I mean, too stoic, completely quiet. Like, this ain't doing nothing to me. And you're like, hello?
I don't like that because I need my ego boosted. I need to know some things. I agree. You know, I need some noises and I need some body languages, some twitches. Like, I need you to have Tourette's. I need you to have Parkinson's. I need you to, like, I need you to have some things going on with you.
What is happening?
He said Parkinson's. I'm done.
Oh my God. Okay. Guys, you want to jump in or am I going to 4? Because there's a couple of them. I'll move on to 4. All right. The guys are just listening.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, you know.
See, the guys, look, we're saying we need to hear from the guys and the guys go silent.
I mean, really, do you want a quiet girl in bed, or don't you want somebody stroking your ego?
Oh no, I don't want a quiet woman in bed. No.
Okay, that's what
that shit. You know, I'm not into the starfish. You know what I mean?
I think
the
only guy that wants to No, I think the only guy that wants his woman not to make noise is maybe the necrophiliac. That's about it.
No saying. I mean, it's Friday.
That's freaky.
It's Friday. We don't need to talk about Bill Cosby tonight.
Freaky, but,
right, that's creepy. It's not freaky.
Freaky and creepy.
No. It's illegal. It's fucking illegal.
It pretty much is, though.
We're going to keep your eye on No Saint. Keep your eye on No Saint. He said necrophilia. Lord Almighty. Okay, number 4. Let's keep it legal. Number 4 is legal. It says, what do women like about sex? Women love sex. It's a misnomer to believe that women dislike sex. The fact is that women like sex when it's fulfilling.
Oh, I was just about, okay.
Often it's not, because mates are uninformed about how to satisfy a woman. Oh, let's co-sign that, ladies, because I think men do think like she's not really into it. If you blew her mind, that woman will be well-oiled and ready every time you walked in the room.
Right. And a friend of mine and I had this conversation earlier this week. One of my male friends, he has a high sex drive, right? And a lot of men have a high sex drive, right? Nothing wrong with that. What I did, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is my theory. This is not science, so don't go looking this up. Okay, so this is from the Book of Lily. My theory on this one is I feel like men want sex more often, but women are more sexual, like, you know, generally speaking, or more sexual, like freakier. but men will just take it. Like, you know, like, I just want sex. But women's like, no, I want a caliber of sex. I need to have the full thing, you know. And then we can actually, as much as we love it, we can turn that shit off whenever we feel like it. Like, it's the, you know,
it's done. Yeah.
It's done for right now until I say so, until I'm ready to turn the faucet back on.
Okay, I'm gonna have to co-sign that, because it is true. Like, men love, right, releasing, and they love getting it as often as possible, but we do like experiencing it. And I think we are more sexual and sensual just because of the way we are, right? It's because women are more like, you know what I mean?
Men lose at about 45. They start going down. They're less freaky, I think.
I mean, men and women are built so freaking different. It's like, it's hats off to anybody who's in a successful marriage for many years, because we're reared different. We're biologically different. We look at sex different. So if you make it work with someone, salute to you, because we're so different. Like, at 45, men are like, want. 45 women are like, where they at?
I want to get it. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, where y'all at? Where y'all at? Men are like, what do you mean where we? I'm tired. I think this is ED. Is this ED?
No, wake up.
And that's why you know there's not a God, because nobody would build it that way.
Who would do this? Who? The devil would treat me better, like Drake. The devil wouldn't treat me like this, all right? Damn it. It says here, women prefer men. This is interesting because I say this. Some women prefer that their mates take control and be aggressive.
Oh, I definitely.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. Women like when men are like, when men are men.
Grab my
in the bedroom.
Choke my neck. Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
Right.
Get aggressive.
Yeah.
There you go.
Get aggressive.
Tell me who balls.
Don't pull a ball spot.
Actually, make me tell you who balls.
I'm going to answer the question.
Yes, sir. Yes, master. Yeah.
I'm about to say.
I'm going to answer a particular thing. And
because you see the women that keep talking. The women that keep talking. But go ahead.
A lot of marriages keep going under, and I keep telling people one of the reasons why. Nature plays a very cruel fucking game. I'm going to read an excerpt of something. Also, testosterone levels in women age 70 and older were the same as levels in healthy women ages 18 to 39. It appears that women, as they age, if they survive, tend to have high testosterone levels.
Yes.
So what happens here is that men, by the age of maybe 40 something, maybe even earlier, our testosterone levels drop. So here's the cruel joke that that nature plays. In the end, if you live long enough, nature turns women into men and men into women.
Yep.
I like how you put that.
Yep. And I've lived long enough to know
so that's essentially, and this is why when you see older women, when they get divorced and so on, they got the second win. Yeah, check your fucking testosterone levels up. You're like, fuck this shit, fuck this dude. We got the kids out the house. It's on and popping. Man, he's got a gut now. He's Al Bundy, you know what I mean, living his glory days, 4 touchdowns and poke high. He's stressed out. He's at the same job for 10 years. He doesn't have to get up and go, or the abs that he had when you first met him. And when you get divorced, that man is a shell of himself. He's a shell of his fucking self. Yes.
Yeah, poor baby.
If he did not take care of it. If he did not take care of himself, this is why I tell guys, you have to keep your edge in life as a man, because nature will take your manhood away from you a lot faster than any divorce had. You know what I mean? It will take your manhood and your livelihood and your life away from you, because if you lose your vitality as a man, you are literally dying a slow and painful death.
God.
Yeah,
men get
you
your
are saving
testosterone.
lives, because that's true, T. And I have a couple of friends who transitioned from female to male. And so of course they had to take, well, not of course, not everyone takes hormones. And because I'm one of them, I don't do that. But they chose to take testosterone. And they said, oh my God, it turns them into sexual animals. Like, they're like, oh my God, like it's scary. Like I want it all the time. I just see everything. I just want to fuck everything. And then I want to masturbate all the time. Like they was like, it's just overwhelming. They didn't
So
realize.
why don't men take testosterone?
But no, this
because
is
Is that like a double negative, or is like, does it make you sick if you're?
There's some risks. There are risks.
A lot of men don't sit down and understand male health. They don't even know their own fucking bodies half the time, much less, you know what I mean, understand how to satisfy a woman. They don't understand. They don't get it. A lot of dudes think that they don't even understand that, you know, you can do Kegels to actually, you know what I mean, keep the blood flow in your penis going. A lot of them have never even heard of that shit. They don't even know how to perform that shit. They don't know. The only thing they know is that the only thing most men know and understand is that all I need is a big dick, and I just, you know what I mean, and you know what I mean, and that's they don't understand about sexual health. They don't understand about, oh, well, you need to take have a supplement regimen as you get older, which is zinc, maca root. It could be tribulus. You know what I mean. It could be a number of things. It could be synthetic testosterone. There's nothing to be ashamed of once you get older. You can also, if you have ED issues, you can also go through procedures for, you know, older men where they use a technique called ultrasound. And ultrasound, they pretty much, you know, they put something on your dick that helps, you know, grow more extra blood vessels. Now, what has happened to men such as that when they go through said procedures, and these men will be in their 60s and 70s, these men, after a certain degree of procedures, are very successful, and they go home and they beat their wives' vaginas into the dirt. You know what I mean? That 67-year-old grandmammy is very, 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 very happy. You know what I mean? And she is very exuberant on many occasions because granddaddy doesn't need those blue pills anymore.
Is that why Thanksgiving
was extra
delicious? Is that why Thanksgiving was extra delicious this year?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Grandmammy was just easy, even kill, man. Like she had a good bag of weed. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. You just have to understand as a man what your health is.
Right. Don Levon said, like I said before, single men have higher testosterone than married men. So stay single, my friend.
Yeah, that is also true. Because I mean, as a single man, you know, I mean, your testosterone has to be higher. You got to be out there hunting. You gotta eat what you kill, man.
That's a little creepy.
It's not like it's not hard to find.
That's a little creepy. As I get older, I'm gonna get more. My testosterone levels are gonna, because I'm a little dude as it is. Well, what's gonna happen to me in 30 years? I got a lot of dude in me already. I'm like, what is gonna happen? I'm gonna grow a fucking beard. What is gonna happen to Jen? We'll see. I'm looking forward to it. Number 5, take it out of the bedroom. What women want in bed that some partners might not realize is spontaneity. Take it outside of the bedroom. That doesn't necessarily mean out in public, though some women are exceptionally adventuresome, which can lead to repercussions. And no one's encouraging you to get in trouble, but take it out of the bedroom.
Keep it alive.
Take it out of the bedroom, guys, you little missionary masters. Out of the bedroom.
You know what? This is another issue right here. This lends to my point. A lot of these Manosphere dudes that are usually, you know, me in the chat during the week, they never show up for shit like this.
Great point. They
never show up for shit like this, man.
Why do you think?
Like this because because you know a lot of them are very fucking arrogant. You know what I mean? They don't do the knowledge. They don't learn anything. They just continue to spit and feedback what they heard in a couple of chats or male support groups and so on and so forth. They don't really do the knowledge about, you know, understanding your body, understanding a woman's body, so on and so forth. They just don't go through the learning process. And it is a learning process. Yes, I had to learn. Yeah, I had to practice some shit. Just like every other man who, you know what I mean, who, you know, whose goal is to stay on his game.
Right. That's interesting because they do not, I mean, they're all in during the week when we're talking about relationships and gender roles to, you know, diminish women and say what women, shake their finger at women. But when we're talking about what women want sexually, they are ghost. You can hear crickets. They are they're not in the chat jumping up and down like a bunch of, banshees. Like they're nowhere to be found. And I think it does I think it does, the arrogance of it. It shows the arrogance of them.
I want to say delusions
Too. Because I'm like, they swear they got it down, but then why are you single yelling in my chat all week long?
Right.
I'll tell you one thing though. The shit that I see with women will hold on to a toxic, good piece of dick longer than they should. So maybe if you guys actually did show up for situations like this, maybe you would have a little bit more success in your life than you do have. Because maybe just being a good provider just ain't enough. Maybe you got something else going on that these women aren't really telling you, and they rather just move on to somebody else and actually sit down and actually tell you.
Right.
Just saying maybe.
It's
the next
true.
one.
The last guy was an excellent provider. I think I've said that before, and then literally that's where it stopped. Like literally it began.
That was Ed.
Oh, okay, that was Ed for you?
That was Ed. I mean, excellent provider. We broke up and the dude was, I told you, putting money in my account like alimony. And we didn't have children together. And we had only been together 3 years. Excellent provider, all about money. He didn't have children. He didn't have an ex-wife. All his money was his.
Yep.
He was high ranking in the police department. So he had money to burn because he didn't have extra bills. But that was it. That was the beginning and the end of him. He was a solid, reliable, responsible man who made some nice money. But that was it. He was literally dead from the waist down.
And probably boring you to tears.
Yeah, he was boring. He was sweet though. He was boring. Yeah. And he did have a motorcycle though. That was fun.
You got to have some edge. You got to keep a little bit of it anyway.
Well, this one had edge, but a little bit too much edge. This was the gangster, right? So the edge that he was dealing with, I ain't want nothing to do with. I didn't have my fair share of that life.
Right.
But, yeah, it was, I mean, now, like, great guy, like, was sweet and all that, very respectful, all of that. But it was just, that was it. I mean, and literally, that was it. He literally, in his mind and in his full being, would be like, what else do you need? What else do you want? Like, what? I saw you last month. I saw you 2 months ago. Like, all your bills are paid. You get the money's in your account every week. What? Like, literally, that was, he just couldn't understand. What more could you want from me? Like Tyrese without the tears.
Right. So bring in some toys. Women would like men. This is marriage.com. Women would like men to bring in toys. How do we feel about toys, ladies?
I'm a fan of that.
I'm not a fan of toys.
I'm a fan.
You're not a fan. Brienne, juguetes? No juguetes.
I'm a fan.
Okay, I'm about toys too. I like toys. I actually like toys more like if a guy uses them than if I use them on myself.
Maybe that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
I like guys. I mean, I don't know if I want it to be like that. Remember that leaked sex tape between Stevie and Eve? Mm-hmm. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. But Stevie's a creep anyway, so it doesn't seem like he's the most.
Right. That was,
they that good.
Yeah.
But women scream about him.
I mean, Faith is lucky in love. She spun that block.
Child, they like to get high together, child. They get high buddies.
Oh, okay.
Don't get.
And I don't think she's even with him half the time. Like she's
what the hell?
Yeah,
Code
she's all
Red.
over the place too.
Code Red said, "I like a face strap on." That's different. No. What does that look like? Is it like a strap on with a penis attached?
Yeah, has the penis on.
All this is covered, and you feel like you can't breathe.
So hold on now. Let's pause right here.
I know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I can picture it.
One of my followers posted it recently.
Pull it up. You pull it up. It's like a plastic.
Okay, with this thing, are you just laying down and a woman is going up and down on you, or are you going like this to her vagina?
That's what you're doing.
Yeah, what you just
and men want to do that?
Well, if you're submissive.
Yeah.
Depends. There's certain men want to do that.
Because I can't picture a man doing this motion like
I'm not
with the penis on his face. Putting a dick on my face. Get that dick on your face, Haran. So basically, you're like this. The man is doing this.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. I'm not. That's just
his neck's. That's not okay. Hey,
I was like, no.
Hey, I thought it would make sense if he like lays down and
you could lay down. I mean,
okay. All right, no Saint. Tell us, no Saint.
I think George needs to get up here.
George said a question to the panel. Do you prefer leather or latex or both?
Neither.
Leather.
None.
Yeah, neither. I mean, if I'm wearing latex, it's out to a club.
Yeah.
Like a sexy top or some, but not during sex.
I like leather on the woman. I like leather on the woman.
You like leather? Why do you like leather? Elaborate.
It's just the feel of it.
Okay.
It's more of a leather, the feel of leather, and the idea of leather is a lot more primal than per se latex. Latex is sexy.
Texture.
Per se, latex.
That's interesting.
Sexier feel. And
smooth.
Look, you know.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of hot.
You know what I mean?
Hold on. Where's my thing?
Oh my goodness. No.
Yeah, we ain't doing that.
No, I would no.
Like, well, how do you even relax with that? Like, imagine your dude just showing up like, yeah, baby, I'm ready. And this nigga got like 8 pages of dick hanging from his fucking face.
No, like, sir.
You chin dick mother.
You chin. That's why.
That's what you gonna say when you're enjoying it. You chin.
No,
dick,
see, I've seen it.
man,
I haven't seen it like that. I've seen it where it's over like the mouth.
I know which one you're talking about too. Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, no.
Oh, this is a tip. Hey,
man.
I know, George. You ain't got to say that twice. I know, George. I'd look great in latex. I have really shiny pants, but I haven't done like a whole outfit. But I've seen this lady I follow on Instagram. She makes amazing latex outfits, right? Oh, yeah. And for outside too, not just for like the bedroom. But I was like, oh, let me make a note of her because she makes amazing outfits that I would wear.
I'd tell you something. There's I saw this on one of those shows that show you like the craziest deaths or something like that, and there was a guy that went to a dominatrix and she put them all in like the latex where you can't.
He died.
He died. He had a latex allergy and they didn't know it.
Oh, the Get Mask.
No, the whole. No. I mean, yeah,
everything. That's called the Get Mask.
Everything.
Like that, they had that Kim Kardashian had her daughter Northwest wearing the whole outfit. Did you see that?
I saw
that Balenciaga mask. Yeah. That was very disturbing. When I saw that,
she was all covered up.
Yeah.
So the men who have experienced the DOMs, was there like a little pamphlet you fill out? Not allergic to latex.
You better know it.
Okay. All right. Because I'm like, could get it could get dangerous now.
Yeah, that was 1,000 Ways to Die. That was the show.
We want everybody to make it back to the panel now. Okay.
Justin needs the link.
Oh, he showed Mr. Justin is here. See, and I'm over here telling Mr. Justin, you got me looking crazy.
Justin, I was like, Mr. Justin, he got a box of toys, so he can educate us on some stuff from his past.
There's every Freaky Friday, a dude pops up backstage with a little dick. Stop showing us your little dicks. I don't want to see it.
Sorry.
Call your mom. Call your mamas. Do not. I dropped the link, Mr. Justin. So I was on number 8 for marriage.com. It says, don't track your sex pattern. Do not track your sex pattern, meaning don't let your partner constantly know when's the last time y'all had sex. Like, it's been 2 weeks. What's going on? It says, don't do that.
Okay, so the problem is we were doing that when we were trying to get pregnant.
That's different.
That's I was like, why not track it?
Yeah, no, you have to have the babies. Number 9. Enjoy the quickies. Women like quickies. It says, believe it or not. Sometimes passion takes over a person for many reasons, and sex needs to happen right then and there. It could be when the urge strikes at the most inopportune time, but there's nothing wrong with a quickie. There's such an intense feeling of desire. Women come away with exceptional gratification. So, gentlemen, don't be afraid to hit her with the quickie. Mr. Justin, I dropped the link in the chat.
Now, the only time is I'm not open for a quickie is when I'm in a rush and I'm concentrating on getting out the door and I'm like trying to think of a million things I need to do. It's actually going to annoy me.
Okay.
I don't even want to be spoken to during that time period. So that's it. Other than that, yeah. Have at it.
Okay. So before I go to 10 and before Mr. Justin comes up, Lily, how could a man, because you know our boys are clueless. They're so clueless. How would a man know not to approach you at that time? Because, you know, if you reject a man, he's scarred for life.
Well, the time to tell him is before his dick gets hard. Like, you know.
Mr. Justin is here.
You know.
Hey, what's going on?
Hi, how are you? Good to see you. Glad you made it. Sorry, I was late. I was caught up with something else on another show, and then their whole power shut down. Then they told me call back in. It was a mess, but we're here. We are glad to see you.
The domino effect.
Yes. How are you? How are you? So Lily was answering a question, and then I got some questions for you, Mr. Justin, because I appreciate your time, and I don't know how long you're going to be here. Yep, we hear you good.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Yep, the mics are working. Lily, so what were you? Who did we lose? We just lost Brienne.
I was saying,
Brienne.
I scared her.
Oh, you said she was like, who is that? Satan? So you said before his dick gets hard is the best time to.
Yeah, meaning just during casual conversation, you're laying in the bed, you're like, oh, by the way, I love a good quickie. Just not when I'm trying to get out this house. Now, we gonna fall out. You're gonna get your feelings hurt. But any other time, just do your thing. Like, just make it happen.
Okay. So, Mr. Justin, since you're here, darling, the topic of tonight is, what do women really want in bed? And I asked earlier, do you have an up on the average man? What do you think you know about what women want in bed that the average man does not know, doesn't care to know, doesn't want to learn, doesn't think it's necessary to satisfy a woman with?
Well, I think the biggest problem that the average guy has is that he's too much of a pleaser.
I thought it was the opposite. Do tell.
Well, but it's for the wrong reasons. It's too much of a pleaser so that he doesn't, so that he can be accepted and avoid rejection at all costs. So what that does is it puts him underneath her, and then that's fine for a little while. And it's like, oh wow, this guy, he does everything. Like he's always, pandering after me, like trying to just fill in all the gaps, and it extends into the household as well, just becoming a yes dear. And then after a while, respect drives down, desire drives down, and next thing you know, you've just got this dude that is like a little puppy, and no woman wants to have sex with a puppy.
Yikes.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
Mr. Justin's coming with the big guns.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Okay, so then what do you think about the term happy wife, happy life? Do you think that's a mistake?
Yes. Happy man,
Absolutely.
happy ma'am.
Happy man, happy what?
Happy man, happy ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So
but his happiness comes from himself, not her.
Hello, hallelujah. Shanta.
Yep. That's a whole big problem. And it's really funny. I got into an argument yesterday with a guy in a BDSM Facebook group, and he said, the number one thing that doms must do is serve their sub. And I'm like, what?
that doesn't sound right.
Look up the definition of dominance. You will never see servitude. You will and he described to me what he does. He said the sub comes first, and he was saying COME, right? And I had to explain to him like his whole breakdown of what it was to be a dominant. And I said, I'm sorry, sir, but you are following your woman. She is in control of you. Like everything that you described, she is in control. And you're just giving yourself over and putting on a hat that says Dom on it. And that just doesn't cut it, right? And I said, like leadership and dominance has nothing really to do with her at all, right? And you just kind of present yourself, and if she wants to get on board, she gets on board. If she does, she gets treated well, but it's not for her. And that's the big difference. It's kind of like you have a 5-star, Michelin restaurant. Okay. They have a standard. You can't walk in without a jacket, right? You don't have one. They're like, hey, listen, you want a table? We'll give you a jacket if you don't have one. But there's a code of conduct. There's a dress code. There's like, you come in here, like, you understand, you got to afford this place. Okay. There's just a whole air about it. Okay. And they will welcome anybody who wants to come in. Cool. All right. But understand there is a system, and you come in, you'll be treated well. The best waiters, best food, best drink. It's all good. Okay. But you have to abide by the code of conduct that we expect here. And you know what? You don't have to like it. You could come in and be like, you know what? This steak sucks. And it's like, all right, cool. Like you can go. It's this isn't for you. This place is not for you. And that's kind of like how I feel that men and dominance should work in relationships. You just hold your own, build your own internal kingdom, your external kingdom, and you just hold it down and say, look, this is how I live my life. If you want to come along into that, fantastic. If you don't like it, it's cool. You can, it's fine. But if you start changing and start altering the principles and the rules by which you run your Michelin restaurant to appease that customer, now the customer's the boss. And now you're changing up your whole shit just so that person can stay. And you do that long enough. And what do they say? If you in business, if you try to please every customer, you please no one.
Right.
It's the same sort of thing.
And then the person brings down the value too of the restaurant. It's like, oh, well, anybody can be here and say
it's like this story that my mother used to read me. It's books from the 70s, like kids' books, were way better than they are now. Like you go back further and further in time, the lessons were harsh. Okay. And there was this one called Bread and Honey. It's about this little bear. And he goes off to school. Like his mother was baking bread for him. And he goes off to school, and it's like art day. And he decides to paint a picture of his mother. And he's really proud of it. And he's got his art tools, and he's walking home, and he's got his painting. And he comes across all these different animals, right? The alligator, the owl, the giraffe. And so each one, he comes up and he's like, hey, owl, what do you think of my painting? Isn't it great? And the owl's like, yeah, it's pretty good, except the eyes are too small. And he's like, okay, hold on a second. He takes out his paint, makes the eyes bigger. And now the owl's like, perfect. All right. And then he moves along to the giraffe. Oh, that's great, but the neck is too short. He makes the neck longer. The lion, the mane is too small. The alligator, the teeth are too small. Next thing you know, by the time he gets home, he's got this monstrous chimera of a painting to give to his mother, right? And he's like, hey, Mom, guess what? I got this painting for you that I did of you at school. What do you think? And you see her, she's like aghast at this monster that he's painted. And she's, of course, she did the mom thing. She's like, all right, it's cool. It's great. Let's put it on the refrigerator. I love it. Let's have some bread and honey. But the point is that he listened to all these other voices coming and telling him what he should do with his painting. And by the time he was done with it, it was nothing like what he intended. And that's what happens to a lot of guys. They will follow everything that to try to meet the desires of the women that are in their lives, and next thing you know, they're nothing. They're twisted up like a pretzel, and they don't know who they are.
You know what? That is, I have to agree with that, and to the point where the very first date I went on with my guy, I told him exactly that. Don't ever, and I think we talked about this before, and a lot of people was like, huh? And I was like, don't ever do shit you don't want to do, or like a lot, because I already know I might get what I want in that moment or for a short period of time, but all I'm doing is two things. I'm creating resentment, and eventually you're going to go back to your nature anyway. So just, you know, just be yourself and let me see if I can deal with that shit, you know, and let's just do that. And I'll respect you more too. So,
right. But they're not going to challenge that if they're afraid of rejection, you know. So that little bear, if he's like, no, fuck you, owl, the owls are the eyes are perfect, you know, the owl might be like, well, I don't want to be friends with you anymore. And if the bear is afraid of that, then of course they're gonna put their own principles aside and appease the owl, right? Because they're afraid of losing that connection. They're afraid of losing the validation of and appreciation from that other person.
That's true. But then
I will say this real quick. Totally agree with that. But the problem is that, especially today, a lot of men don't take the time out to really sit down and think about who they are outside of the female gaze. Far too much emphasis nowadays is put on what women think, you know what I mean, who, you know what I mean, I have to be this, I have to have all these women, I have to have all these things. Like, what I noticed, and we had this discussion before, what I noticed is that once you take away the power of providing and traditional ideas of what manhood is away from most of these men, they have no clue what else they have to offer.
Right.
They have no clue what other attributes they have they can use for leverage. If you define yourself as just a resource as a man, as a financial resource as a man, and when that's removed, if you don't know where you stand with anyone or women, period, you're a lost human being. You have to sit down and really ask yourself, who are you? What are you about? What is your frame, and so on and so forth? You know, so you have to be cool with the idea of, if a man is truly a man if he can live with the idea of being a bachelor for the rest of his life. You know what I mean? I
to be
truly
alone.
believe that. Yes, alone for the rest of your life. If you can picture yourself, you know, being alone for the rest of your life, the possibility of that, if you are good with that, if you are at peace with yourself with that, then you are ready to go down this road, you know what I mean, that we refer to as manhood. But if you constantly define yourself by the female gaze, or, you know what I mean, define yourself about, you know what I mean, what the tribe thinks about you and so on and so forth, you're not a man. You're not an individual. You can easily be pushed and swayed in any fucking direction depending on where the pressure is coming from.
Oh, sure. You see that all the time. Like, you know, when they got like an attractive woman and they want to get the approval of their friends, right? And so then now they're at the whim of the approval of their friends. So if their friends approve, then it's great. If their friends disapprove, then they have something to deal with, and it becomes very problematic.
So we were talking about that earlier, Mr. Justin, that we were saying that a lot of men like a certain type of woman, but if his friends think she's a quote unquote hoe or a slut or for the streets, they won't give her play, but they really want to. They really want to.
You're all sluts.
But right, exactly. Thank you. But you know what?
But at the same time, you're all having the capacity for Madonnas. See, that's the problem. We mentioned this last time. You know, the Madonna whore complex, and guys either like she's like, oh, she's like this or she's like that, and really, it's not even a mashup of the two. It's just ridding yourself of the bifurcated view. And in there now you can fully explore her, and you might be able to take her places you know, sexually and non, that she didn't even know possible, because she also has grown up in a world that views Madonna or whore, right? And so now you as the leader, you can start going and it's actually quite infinite where you can take a woman.
See, like I always love being my man's whore, you know. Like,
exactly. Good for you. Good for you.
I really do. But you know, But what Haran said, it's something, and it's actually, you touched on this as well, because you said about building the kingdom inside and outside of the bedroom, right? Like, and then like there's the inner kingdom or queendom, right? And then there's the outer. And the young ladies that I mentor, I tell them exactly what Haran said. Like the goal, the real true goal is to find a way to be at peace with self and self. And that if true love or marriage or the one never, ever, ever, ever comes, you're great. You're perfect.
Right.
You have everything you need. And if they do happen to come, it's just the icing on the cake, right? Because yes, that keeps you from making decisions out of desperation, out of fear, the whole you're going to grow and be lonely kind of decisions. And if you snatch away that fear, then you're like, no, I'm going to have fun. And I'm going to not accept anything less than what I know I deserve, because I've already given myself all of these great things, including a great orgasm. So that's the goal.
Okay. So, Mr. Justin, what do women really want in bed?
Well, there's a lot, but I would say, all right. So what I teach is like a four, they break apart into more layers, but there's four basic pillars, and that's dominance, immersion, variety, and emotion. And you can play with those in varying degrees. You can combine them. Okay. So you can have very emotional, but also very dominant session, so to speak. You can have something that's very immersive. So like an example of an immersive one would be like, let's say you're playing as the, your sex session takes on a form of meditative bliss. Okay. And you're getting more, putting on like meditation music and things like that. And it becomes this more of a, I guess you could call it a more spiritual experience. Okay. Now you could combine that with variety. Excuse me. So you could combine that with variety, or you could make something, so that'd be like immersive, or you could have, just a purely emotional experience. But either way, you have to have those pillars activate. And honestly, I think domination should be in them at all times, because that's taking the lead. Now the domination can be varied degrees. Okay. And it could be just a very low, like guiding, like, all right, this is what we're going to do, to like very, very high, strict protocol dominance, and everything in between. But I think the dominance needs to be there. And then you can go into having, more immersion or more variety or more emotion. But if you have those four, that's basically what woman needs.
What about, can you give us an example of varieties? Because I think men get monotonous in the bedroom after marriage or being in a long term.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Because, guys, you give them the same outfit and give him 10 of them, he'll wear the same damn thing every day for the rest of his life.
Yeah, my dad did. Yep.
Right? You open up like an old man's closet, and he has the same clothes in his closet, like with slight degrees of change, but not much, right? And that's just how guys are, But what I teach my guys is sparking their creativity, okay? And that starts actually with erotic writing, and getting in tune with your erotic self and learning how to fantasize. The fantasy turns into being able to talk and be able to communicate erotically, either subtly or directly. But anyways, variety is you can change up your how you come about it. So like I said, varying degrees of dominance. Okay. That's one form of variety. You can get into role play. You can get into actually constructing scenes. Okay. And that has a whole entire structure to it. You can just change the environment, right? Go sneak off into the bathroom for a quickie at a restaurant, right? Fuck in the bathroom instead of in the bedroom. You just change the environment. It doesn't have to be like crazy, right? Just change it. And it'll bring out different things in her. Absolutely.
Do you think, I want to go back to something you said earlier. You were saying that, a woman constantly telling a man what she wants him to be, and then he's kind of like at a loss and he doesn't know who he is. And then he turns her off because he's a shell of a man or less of a man for constantly listening to every word. Do you think that there's a similar effect in all these spaces like Manosphere, Red Pill, whatever, you know, coaching groups are out there? Do you think men also are at risk of being pulled every which way because there's so many different people telling them what to do? They don't know who they are unless they have, like, I'll just throw a name out there, like a Tate or Kevin Samuels guiding them.
Yeah. It's pure weakness. It's the weakness comes from self-hate. It's not loving oneself, not having any sort of self-appreciation, and from that seed of loathing comes a seeking of people like Tate. You're right. Individuals involved in the Red Pill, and then they adopt titles, right? And it's crazy. Like, I know people who are like, I'm Red Pill John, and it's like, why are you disgracing your family name like that? Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, your parents gave you that name, and you're disgracing it by putting some nonsense that somebody made up from a movie that was made by transsexuals. It's like, come on, like, stand on your name. Like, that, it's one of the most powerful things you have. And you know, it just boggles my mind. But yeah, all that stuff, it just starts with self-loathing, really. And then they look, and what, you know, they say misery loves company, and you can see it in the comments of like a lot of these videos. They just ban in there, just kind of like, you know, rubbing each other's backs and say it's gonna be okay, you know, but it's not. Like, they're suffering hard. Like, it's not gonna be okay. And the problem is that, you know, these guys are like, you know, they're it's gonna be cool for like straight guys to start dating their friends, right? Their male friends. And they'll be like, nah, this isn't gay. It's just like, you know, I love my bro. And it's going to start changing that landscape because they can't get the women that they want. I think that's going to happen. I think a lot of anger and violence is going to start being inflicted on each other because they can't get the women that they want. Like, they're seen as invisible. They're seen as, you know, undesirable, but it really comes from them. Like, they believe that they're undesirable. So they're just like, you know, that rage just builds up. It's terrible. Like, there's a storm coming. I'm certain of it.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry to bring down the vibe. Can we talk about fucking?
Yes, can we? I did have another question for you. What do you say? Because people usually panic, right? Couples, like if a man wants to introduce something new that's sexual to his wife, she's kind of like, oh my God, where's this coming from? We don't do this. This is not us. Similarly, if a woman, because women are very sexual, we can all agree, if she's introducing something, how can she introduce something to a man without him panicking? Because men are very, in my opinion, they get monotonous in long-term relationships, right? It's like, this is how we have sex. This is where we do it. So how can a woman introduce that to a man and him not be panicking? Like, where'd you see this in a movie? Did your ex do this to you? How can a man handle that? Women like variety.
Yeah. Like, a good way is starting to watch porn together, right? That's like a real easy one. A woman can be sneaky about it by, say, let's say you have a shared family computer or something like that, and, like, you know, accidentally leave a browser open on something that she likes, right? And then he'll find it, like, leave it for him to find, and then eventually hopefully he'll be like, are you into this? And then that can start this conversation, you know. Or you can go a very direct approach, and there's all kinds of quizzes and things online that you're like, hey, like, I found this fun quiz, you know, about sexy stuff, and like, you know, do it. I would say, like, do it after an orgasm. People are a lot more receptive after they've come at least once. And yeah.
That's when you ask for shit. Okay.
Right. Well, you don't even have to ask for it, but you're just like, hey, you know what I was, because your mind is more open, everything's relaxed, your stress has been reduced dramatically, and you're just like, hey, you know, my friend sent me this quiz, like, about sex, and, you know, he's feeling good already, and it looked like so much fun. You want to do it together, you know? And then could turn it into a game, and, you know, she starts, you know, playing with his dick, and, you know, while you're like, why don't you take that test? While I play over here, you can read it aloud.
Do you think that there's a cultural, and anybody can answer this, but do you think that there's a cultural difference in what women want? Like ethnicity, race?
Nah.
No.
No, just want a man.
They want a man to blow their mind and their back.
Yeah.
Blow their mind and their back out.
Yeah. It's just a man, you know. But it's just the males are in vast abundance. It's funny because, like, you know, guys, that regular guys will say, oh my gosh, dating is so easy for women. They have so many fucking options. Yeah, they have options of dudes that they're not really interested in. And
That's true.
so yeah, you can get dick, you can get average dick.
Yes.
You can get a guy to chase after you. You can get many men interested in you. But coming across that dude, like that guy, right?
His ass.
It's rare. It's rare because them guys,
rare. It's very rare.
Yeah.
So it's like, yes, you have a plethora of choices you can eat, right? But it's not exactly nourishing or fulfilling. And that's the problem. But guys just look at the quantity, not realizing the quality or the value that's there. And if they could understand a little bit of that, they really wouldn't, I think, criticize that so much. But it's impossible, you know, because they're stuck in their world of just like being very, they're starving, right? Starving for attention, starving for sex, starving for affection, and, you know, all that bullshit.
Don Levant says something very hilarious that is so true. He said there are 3 million men in the manosphere trying to figure out how to get laid, like pussy was invented a year ago. Like they just discovered it.
And you know, when you're gamed up and you are like just grounded in yourself, you really don't give a shit about pussy, and it's the easiest thing in the world to acquire. But once it's able to be acquired, you don't care about it anymore. It's really funny.
That's true.
Justin, quick question.
Yeah, what's up?
Most of your DNS relationships, are they seen only? Or are they 24/7?
I've had more seen onlys than 24/7.
Gotcha.
Right now, I'm with a sub who's my girlfriend, and we are taking our time building into a 24/7 because it's a huge undertaking, right? It's like, you know, it's like starting up a company with somebody that is like multifaceted, that has a lot of factors and a lot of moving parts, and there's just two of you, right? So there's a lot of things to manage, a lot of things to kind of envision and oversee and think about contingencies and all this stuff. It's pretty involved. So we are working towards that, but it's a very, very slow process. Yeah.
Wow.
It's funny you should say that about 24/7 relationships, because I was having a conversation with the rest of the panel earlier, and I was discussing with them that when you're in a 24-hour relationship, especially if it ends, if the DNS relationship ends, it hits you a lot harder than just a regular vanilla relationship, because a lot goes into 24/7 dom sub relationship. There's a lot of things that are exposed, a lot of secrets, a lot of who you are as a person goes into that most people really wouldn't show to most of the other people prior in vanilla relationships. Would you agree with that?
I don't have the feeling of loss in terms of, emotions or anything like that, but I could understand time crafting something, right? Because I treat it as like a creative process. So both the dynamic itself, but also her mind. So I'm spending a lot of time both in her midst or at a distance communicating, or on my own kind of working things out and planning things out in short term, midterm, and long term. And that I would feel the loss of like, damn, you know, I put a lot towards this craft, like almost like you spend a lot of time on a, you know, like say a stone, like what is it, you know, like a sculpture, right? You're carving it, and then you hit something, and the whole thing just crumbles. You're like, fuck, like I just spent a whole mess load of time crafting this, and it didn't work out. But emotionally, you know, like, nah, I don't like divulge my secrets. I'm not getting all, you know, soft pillow talky, you know, opening up emotionally. Like that's not who I am. But I can understand, you know, everybody's different, and you know, people, they will invest more, I guess. So to answer your question, yeah, 24/7 demands more of your attention, your time, your energy, and so when they do fall apart, it can certainly hit a lot harder, I think. Yeah.
Do you have punishment protocols for disobeying?
Should what? Punishment protocols
Do
for what?
you happen to have for disobeying? Any, if a woman
Yeah.
happens to disobey, if she happens to,
and there's light, medium, and hard. Yep. Yeah, there's light ones, you know. So so she's not allowed to say yeah, or any other sort of like guttural response. It's clear and concise: yes, no, or yes, daddy, or no, sir. Just very clear communication. And it's really funny because you go back to say 40s, 30s, 20s, so on and so forth. Everybody said yes, ma'am, no, sir, yes, sir. It was common parlance. Now people say, they're like, oh my God, really? You're expecting me to say sir? Well, yeah, because I have a high level of respect for myself. I'm a grown man.
So I would get tied up. I would get tied up quick then. I would get tied up quick because I'm like,
no. Yeah. Well, see, tying is for fun, right? So you never cross the lines. You don't use something for fun that you would use for punishment, because that sends a double message, right? You know, like that's like spanking a child and saying, I'm doing this because I love you. Like the kid's like, what? I'm in pain, but you're telling me you love me. Like, what the fuck's going on, right? And then that's where the BDSM starts. So what that was my joke, but nobody got it.
We got it now.
Yeah, exactly.
But so like for a minor punishment is to stand 12 inches or more, like 12, 15 inches away from the wall, facing the wall, and you're to hold a quarter against the wall with your nose. And it's a very awkward position because, you know, you don't want to press too hard or else it starts hurting your nose, like the bone and cartilage. And you don't want to like let up too light, because then the quarter drops and you got to start all over again. It's usually set for a timer, like on my phone. And, you know, that's like a minor infraction, you know what I mean? And it's an awkward position. It's like, if everyone ever worked in a restaurant, like washing dishes, it's that angle where you're not bent over, you're not upright. It's this really uncomfortable angle for your lower back, and you feel like a jackass sitting there with a quarter against the wall, with your nose. So that's one thing. You can do like fingers, like leaning, you know, like leaning on your fingertips, holding the quarters. Even just standing there, like holding a cup, like plastic, so it doesn't break, but like a you know, like a plastic cup full of water, and holding it out. And if it starts lowering, it's like, nope, all right, we're starting the timer over again.
Haran, what are you nodding yes for? Ladies, are you holding quarters to the wall with your nose? What are we doing?
Hell no.
I'm not. No, but I will hold his dollars in my pocket.
Yeah, that's
I will do that.
Right.
Like
well, see that. Well, these are all agreed upon things.
Right.
It's not. These are not sprung out. It's like, hey, again, you're coming into the restaurant. This is the conduct that we expect. If you misbehave, there's consequences. Right. If you play along, there are rewards, right? And you get treated very well. So, you know, if for me, conduct is very important. Having manners is very important. So that's just something that I like to uphold. I think it's good for her, and it's good for everybody, right? She comes off very well. When you're sitting straight back, great posture, and speaking well, people are like, who is that lady? You know?
I think it's always well when all parties involved are getting what they want out of the situation. So I think it's dope.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and it's not all that,
it's-
but he was just asking about punishments. That's just one tiny aspect of a dynamic. There's a number of. I mean, I can't remember what it was, but she really pissed me off this one time, and didn't get emotional. And I brought over this little Ziploc bag of Legos, and I don't know if you've got kids, but if you step on fucking Legos, it hurts like a motherfucker.
Yes.
Holy shit. And I just had this little sandwich Ziploc bag of like small pieces, right? Because they would hurt more. And I laid them on the floor. And I said, take off your socks, right? And then I explained to her before she went on. They said, listen, because when you're doing punishment, you don't explain it. He said, listen, this is what you did, right? And this is why you're getting punished. It's going to be for this amount of time. And then when we're done punishing you, I'll make it better. Okay. And so, because it's like one thing, like you punish a kid, but then you give them some ice cream and say, hey, it's going to be okay. Right. You fucked up. Let's just not do it again. And so she had to stand on those Legos barefoot. And oh my gosh, she was like instant pain, but it's not so much that you have to call the fire department. It's just, it's like at a high level of excruciation. And she, I don't know, lasted probably 45 seconds at most, before she was just done. She it shot the adrenaline, and the submission just crunched her down. And she's like, okay, whatever you want, And so I explained to her, like what was going on, why it happens. And, and then Daddy made it better.
Let me ask a question, because we hear a lot, BDSM. No, it's not always sexual. It's not sexual. It's not. It's mental. It's psychological. It's not sexual.
Yeah, it's not sexual at all.
Okay, when do we get to the sex? We spoke about reward and Ron, be quiet. We spoke about reward and punishment. What if I wanted my reward sexually? What would that look like? What would my sexual reward be?
Well, that would, that comes down to knowing what moves you, what motivates you, right? So right, that could be one of them, right? So yes, and that comes into play with having sexual control over yourself as the man, as the dominant. You're not driven by sensual pleasure, right? You're driven by principle, which is what separates men from males. Males are just hungry for pussy, right? But men, they're more interested in their principle and running things and making sure things are good. But so what you're saying here is there's all sorts of rewards, right? And every submissive or every woman is different in what really motivates them, what they really like, what makes them feel good. And sometimes it's dick, sometimes it's other stuff. Maybe it's dick and stuff, But yeah, dick is a gift. And I agree. Orgasms are a gift. Okay. So me and my girl started an orgasm control protocol. She now has to ask permission to come, whether she's alone or with me. She needs permission to masturbate. She needs permission. I could be fucking her and holding her. So part of this like mental conditioning. Okay. Like I will be fucking her and she's like, she could come, but now I've started planting the seed that she needs permission. Right. So while she's in the throes of high levels of arousal where she can barely think straight, she now has to ask me if she can come, or I will prompt her and say, would you like to? And remember, you need to ask permission. She said, Daddy, please. And she can't barely like make it out. But it's starting this, this thing that she's agreeing to, that her orgasms are under my control by consent, obviously.
So do you ever say no? Do you ever, like, if she calls you and she's like, hey, I'm about to turn on the rabbit, you're like, no? No, she doesn't make that decision. She says, Daddy, can I please masturbate? Daddy, can I please have an orgasm? Daddy, can I please come? She's not, I'm starting this, can I do something? No, she has to ask permission from the moment she has the thought or the idea. Holy fuck. Okay. Wow. George Cook has a question for you, Mr. Justin.
So that when it happens, right? So that when it happens, because think about it, you have cookies every day. They're not going to be all that special. But if you do something within a system that you understand that will get you the reward of the cookie, that cookie tastes fucking amazing, especially if you have it, you know, not every single day, right?
George Cook asked Justin, do you extend the dynamic outside of the home? In other words, does she have to observe protocol when you all are at the restaurant, grocery store, etc.?
Yeah, certain parts. She doesn't. She calls me Mr. J in public. She doesn't have to call me sir, just because, again, people are just like, oh my god, like that's so weird. No, so
like Harley, Mr. J.
Yep. I love that girl.
We're
She's
all
so
weirdos.
Yeah,
We're all weirdos.
Harley is so psychotic. I love her. But yes, so some things, like, you know, she's always standing on my left. I'm always entering buildings before her. You know, I'm not like holding the door open for her, any of that nonsense. Like, I enter first, right? And it's just an old school sort of way of doing things. Let's see. She's to maintain my water glass. So, you know, like if we get like a pitcher, she'll be filling my water glass. Like if we're having dinner. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, there's not any real situations where anything else is impeded upon. You know, if I have her wanting her to dress a certain way, yes, she'll do that. If I want her to wear underwear or not, like, you know, that's the way it'll go. Yeah, I mean, she's like pretty much up for anything, because at this point she knows that I'm not going to compromise her well-being.
Do you think that women in general like that type of situation? You think they're turned on by it?
I think when there is a certain element of trust, yes. Like, that requires a high level of trust in the guy, which requires him to have a high level of trust in himself and his decision making and his judgment, instead of just like kind of shooting from the hip. So yeah, if there's trust, yeah. But the problem is that it clashes with social conditioning, right? So you've got decades of so like older women I'm finding have far less problem with this. You know, my girl, she's 42 years old. So she has far less problems with this. Okay. You take a girl who's in her 20s or 30s, and she's got layers coming from multitude of directions, from Hollywood to literature to social media to magazines to blogs to newspapers, the news, all this stuff, plus their own social circles telling them, you know, I am woman, hear me roar, no one can tell me what to do. That will clash. That conditioning will clash with this, I think, an intrinsic desire to trust and fall in to, you know, like that guy. Okay. So if she comes across that guy, it will clash. So, you know, and that just comes from my own experience and, you know, talking to other guys who have dated women in varying age groups. Like, older women are far better.
I was saying that earlier to Brienne, one of our youngest panelists. I was like, you know, in 20 years, you're not going to give a damn about the things that are in your mind now. I did want to address this here. Lady Luck says, got to have serious daddy issues to do all that nonsense. What do you think when you hear a comment like that?
It's certainly possible. But no one's ever really on like that. That kind of falls in line when a woman comes across a guy who has broken her heart and she says he's a narcissist, right? When really that if you really look into narcissism, it's a very serious mental disorder that doesn't show up very commonly at all. Right. Yep. And it's actually extremely difficult to diagnose, even by professionals, to the point where they almost nixed it from the DSM-5. So to say daddy issues, like, well, what does that mean? Right. Like, because, you know, like my girl, she's got he's dead now, but she's had a fantastic relationship with her father. So what does that mean to have daddy issues. And if you were to pick that apart, like that's not in any that's not in the DSM-5, right? So like, what does that even mean? Okay. And furthermore, people who are living in the BDSM lifestyle, they challenge these, the issues that we have within us. And it goes very deep, and you like, trauma can be healed. Like, you have sexual abuse can be healed through proper implementation of BDSM under like a well-maintained dynamic by a knowledgeable and wise dom. And like, so many times, and therapists are looking into it. There's therapists who are advocating for it. I mentioned before, like, stress levels are a lot lower in BDSM relationships. Trust is a lot higher in BDSM relationships. And I told this to my girl, about, in reference to that comment. I've told her straight up, do not do anything for me, not a single thing for me, unless it brings you joy to do it. Like, don't do it because you think I want it. I want just joy. That's it.
That's why I'm loving this conversation, and conversations like these. I think they need to be had, because I think that comment comes from a place of just not knowing, and that's the first place someone's mind is going to go, typically, out of, I dare to say, ignorance, not in the way of me trying to put the person down, but in the dictionary stance of just not knowing, right? Because I just look at it, it just goes back to all of us finding what works for us and what's going to be the most healthy and most fulfilling for us. And as I'm listening, even though I'm like, oh, this is not for me, but I can see how could be for somebody. My thought is not going to, oh, she has daddy issues or anything like that. So, because reason why is because people do that with me all the time, because I like older men, and that's the first thing that people like to go to. But I've always liked older men. I've never been attracted to men my age ever, but I've never really been attracted to people my age because I could never identify with them. You know, so it's not a daddy or mommy issue. I have a great relationship with my parents.
Well, the fact remains is that pretty much everyone has issues with regard to how they were raised and who raised them. Everyone.
True. And that's where I was going to go next with this. The few issues that I did have, they have been healed. They have been addressed and they have been healed. Because I wasn't even aware of some of the issues that I did have with the mommy and daddy issues.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. It's like things like communication and honesty is such a huge thing in a DS relationship, that this stuff comes out, like sometimes through play, sometimes through scenes, sometimes through discussion, and it can get intense. It can be very triggering, but it's all done in the in the heart of learning and growth. And if both people have a good sense of ego control, you can learn a lot, and you can really, really grow past a lot of limiting beliefs, trauma, scars, you name it.
One of the things that I'm seeing in the chat is that they're referring to those in the BDSM community as narcissists and so on and so forth. And I understand the need to do that, because when you're met with a group of people or a world that exists outside of your limitations, immediately people latch on to fear.
And
people
judgment.
Immediately latch on to fear. Yeah, exactly. Fear and judgment and so on and so forth, and calling these people all these things. When in actuality, most of the time, these people are people who have resided to living in their own space and accepting their own selves, or working through their own traumas in various ways. While other people, so-called traditional, a lot of times we call traditional, and a lot of times those are just suppression tactics. Those are really just suppression tactics, keeping you from actually understanding and knowing your own self. So just understand the difference. and just keep an open mind with certain things. That's the only thing that I prescribe to most people.
Yeah,
that's why I love this panel so much, because we all come from different walks of life, and we're teaching people how just to accept who everybody is for what they are. It's like me being an atheist. I hear so many people telling me so many reasons why I'm an atheist. No one asked me.
Right.
Oh, God let you down one day, but he's gonna come back, and you're not really. I'm like, nobody asked me. Everyone's telling me why I'm an atheist, right? And if I didn't tell you that, yeah, and it's like, I listen to this whole world that you guys live in. It's a lifestyle, and honestly, I like sexual adrenaline, so I would venture into it. I'd like excitement. I'm not thinking I have a daddy issue, so let me see if my master can fix it. I'm not even thinking that. Some people just like excitement, and it sounds exciting, right? And I'm the type of person, if something exciting is going on, I sneak over to see what's going on, right?
Sure.
I'm that person. Was my upbringing perfect? No. Do I love my dad to bits and pieces, regardless of him being tyrannical sometimes? Yes, I still love my dad, but I wouldn't be venturing into this because my dad was, some people just like exciting things, different things. They want to try different things. We only live once, right? So it's like, what else is out there? I want to see. And if I like it, I'm gonna keep doing it. If I don't, then I'll go do something else, and then something else and something else. That's how life is. But it goes back to what you said, Mr. Justin, where when you're young, you have the traditions, the magazines, the movies, the religion, the relatives, the friends, your social circle, and you're living in that bubble, right, of your surroundings. And that's why when you get older, it's like, oh, it's different up here. It's like, you know what I mean? The chains come off, and the mental chains and everything. You're like, I want to try stuff. Hence the midlife crisis. And I don't think it's a crisis at all. I think it's coming out of a freaking cell.
Yeah. Right. And giving yourself the permission to question things. And that's also part of the, the mainstream is just be quiet, keep your head down, and do what everyone else is doing. Right. Which comes from a populace that is seeking validation and acceptance from each other. Right. So it's a very weird circular thing that goes on. And and you're always going to get criticism when you step away from that in any fashion. And I was asked by people who were close to me when I guess came out of the closet, so to speak, and they said, what is this BDSM stuff like? Is it whips and chains and this sort of stuff and leather? And I said, are you really asking me so you can create a judgment, or do you really want to know? Because it's not a short or easy conversation. So if you want to have that conversation, we're going to have it, but we're going to sit down and have some coffee, right?
I love that.
Right.
And none of them.
No, you don't, Jen. You don't like coffee.
None of them.
I hate coffee, but smoothie. We'll sit down with the
smoothie, tea, whatever. But it's going to take a while. But the point is that none of them were willing to do that, right? Because they wanted to just get just enough information to create a judgment.
Oh my God. I just listen. I hate to keep going back to this, but I just went through that over DM. Someone asked me, I'm just curious, no judgment. Why are you an atheist? So I was like, well, it's a long story, but I'm just very simple. I'm blah, blah, blah. And they respond with screenshots of the Bible. Well, God did. And I was like, you motherfucker. Like, you didn't even want to really know. You just wanted to make a judgment so you could see what scripture to throw at me, you asshole.
Yep.
That's how they do.
And I was like, luck. So it's true. Some people ask and they don't really want to know. They just want to, they want to know where's the in so they can convince you that their way is the right way. And that shit is fucking wrong.
Right. And and so what that is really it's self-doubt on their end. And so it's using your, I guess, wall, so to speak, that they're throwing their ball against to give themselves a sense of like a substantiation to their own position.
Yep. That's the conclusion I came to some years ago. I realized that it had nothing to do with me. It was everything to do with them and their shaky foundation, because something innately in them knows that this shit don't add up.
Right, because when you're solid in yourself, like, okay, so Jen, you're solid in your non-religiousness. Okay, do you bother asking other people about their other positions? No,
Never.
exactly. Right,
I don't
and
care.
that could be anything else. So whatever it is you're solid on and you're comfortable with, you don't bother asking about, because you don't need it. You don't need that bounce back to give your position either a yay or a nay, right? Like, oh, they're against what I believe, so that makes my position stronger. They're with what I believe, so that makes my position stronger, right? If you were solid, you wouldn't need any of that shit. You'd be just whatever. Like, you don't even think about it. You probably don't even think about being an atheist, right?
At all, until someone like
Exactly.
asks me. I'm like, I don't run around my
and
life
then,
like,
and then
oh,
it
I
dawns
woke
me,
up.
like, I don't think about being a dominant in a DS dynamic, except when I'm like working on something. But as an identity, I never really think about it. And when somebody asks me this, I'm like, oh, wait a second, holy shit! Like, I live vastly different than most people, and I almost like you take it for granted, almost.
No, I totally feel you. I'm like that in my life, and then until, like you said, until someone asks, and I'm like, but I totally feel you on that. I can usually tell the difference between someone wanting to ask questions because they're curious and they want to educate themselves versus trying to build up ammunition or trying to shoot you with your own bullets, right? And I have ways of cutting them off, like, because I'm not gonna waste my time with that shit. You know, I'm always open to educate and all of that stuff, but I'm not wasting my time with you trying to change me or convince me of anything. If it's not going to work, you're just going to piss me off, because you just, those moments I can't get back on my daddy, so I'm not doing it.
Brianna has questions to learn. Brianna's like, I'm just chilling.
Yeah, Brianna, you're
I'm just listening to everyone. I just think about a lot of this, and I'm like, being married, some days it's just, we're just enjoying time with each other and our new little baby. And then other times I'm like, I just want to jump his bones. So I still have to wait, I think 3 more weeks, and I'm literally counting the hours. But it's, I don't know, it's just a really weird time. Like, we've never been through anything like this as a couple. So a lot of things are different now.
Wait, were you asking for you were asking for some sort of tips, and something just came to mind. But what was it for? It was like sensory. It was something sensory, like different textures and things like that.
Sensory deprivation.
Or like just sensory play, like just adding different elements. I think that's what it was, something like that. You're counting down the days, so I heard that, I was like, ooh, there's a leverage point, right? And so that's the thing. Like, when you're a dominant, you're always listening for leverage points. You're always watching for leverage points, and seeing how you can play with them or extort them for positive means. So, you're like, ask. Well, it'd be weird for you to ask him, but like, fuck it, why not? Ask him to write like erotic poetry, right, and send them to you. You know, like maybe like twice a week or something like that, 3 times a week, just little things. And then that's going to just keep it churning. And you're like, oh, fuck. And you're getting excited, turned on, but there's nothing you can do about it. And then just lead you into like greater and greater states of torture until, you can be free with yourself.
Torture.
Like pleasure.
But it's fun torture.
It's like anticipation torture.
Exactly. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
Sounds hot to me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sounds fun.
Yeah, but that sort of stuff is that's a large part of being in a DS relationship, is maintaining anticipation. Right. And playing with it, and turning it in different directions, and making it go where you want it to go. And it's, again, like a lot of these things are creative exercises. So if you're if you don't have a curious mind or creative mind, it's really not going to work out well for you. But that's something that I teach guys to do, is to like really cultivate their I call it like their inner wizard. Because guys have like 4 archetypes. They got a king, a warrior, a lover, and a magician. And the wizard is the tinkerer, the wanderer. He wants to know how things work, and you mix that with a little bit of lover, and you've got a little curious sexual deviant on your hands.
Wait, you said that there 4 archetypes is king, lover, magician, and what?
Warrior.
Warrior.
Yeah.
And a man can only be one, right?
No, these are archetypes that all live within every man.
Really?
Yeah. There's actually a very old book. I think it was written in maybe the late 70s called King, Warrior, Lover, Magician. I incorporates the book. It's it's a little bit loopy, but the concepts are really great, and so I incorporate that into the things that I teach. It's because it's solid. Like I feel it within myself, and once you start visualizing these things, you can kind of know when to, I guess, embody these things, or when you are embodying them, you can become aware of it.
Interesting.
What's up, No? Say you're off the phone.
Oh yeah, I'm off the phone. It was interesting.
Well, now you got to tell us.
Okay.
Now you got to tell us.
Sure, I'll tell you a little bit. So this my friend, he's been married a long time. I think he said 40 years, but anyway, it's probably right. He's been around about 40 years. And this is the guy I told you about that lives probably near Damien in San Antonio now in a gated community. and everything we talk about up here, he didn't want to get divorced. Well, a little bit for the kids, a little bit, a lot for the money, because he's a millionaire. But he has been, and it's been every time when they're together, every time I see him every year, it's the same story. And it's he is badgering the hell out of her because he worked out though. He's like Haran. He works out a lot, keeps his body in shape, even at his age. He's got a nice body, and she gained weight after the first kid and never lost it. And so I got to hear. And so he's drunk. He fell a couple of times, and so this is the first time I've ever heard him. He's an Italian guy, like macho, and he's crying to me on the phone. I'm just
poor
like,
thing.
And
he needs some Dom classes with Mr. Justice.
No, that's just poor leadership, right?
Oh, speak on it.
No. So anything that happens in a man's life, anything, right? From the people that's in there, your successes, your failures, your pain, your frustration, your joys, your triumphs, is all because of you and your choices. It's all there because of you and your choices. So anything that happens to you, say in a marriage, is because you either allowed it or you condoned it or you brought it upon yourself. And guys be like, oh, that's so triggering to so many guys, right? Because they want to put some kind of blame on their woman. You know why his woman became overweight? Because he didn't lead her to being in shape.
Here comes the Manosphere people. Then 3, 2, 1.
Right. But I'm saying, like, that's really
fuck.
But you have to start. Well, no, I mean, it's easier to start from Jump Street taking a leadership role. Now you can transition, but it takes work because then you're dealing with your own conditioning. And, he probably started off as like being a very probably a great guy, right? He loved her and he was fueled by his emotions, and, he was having sex for pleasure. And so he's probably just like a regular guy, just probably like a higher level of a regular guy. And then once those things wear off, because they do, there's no principle guiding that, right? So you have to then learn how to bring principle into your life, put your emotions to the side, put your desire for pleasure off to the back burner, and then start living your life through principle and guiding the relationship and her through principle, no matter if she is smiling or frowning, right? And that's how you can kind of avoid something like divorce, because you've been leading. So I tell guys all the time, you are always leading a woman. Everything that comes out of your mouth, everything you do, you're leading. So you can lead her to resenting you. You can lead her to getting, her getting really happy, getting really sad, getting really angry. You're always leading her. right?
Oh,
Because women are responsive.
Fuck, I'm so wet right now. I
Here,
fucking love that.
I was going to comment on that.
I love that because you are always leading a woman, whether it's to misery or success or the you're always leading a woman. Thank you. Thank you.
If the wrong woman hears that, she would really get triggered because I just had a baby. And for you to say, like, if he's leading or not leading, that would be the reason she didn't lose the weight. Because if she didn't lose the weight, one, she doesn't have a healthy fear of you. It's not a priority. She's not thinking about your pleasure or the way you view her. So, obviously having a baby, you gain weight, but I didn't gain more weight than I was supposed to. And I'm almost at my pre-pregnancy weight. And I just got a juicer today. So he just bought me a juicer because I've been talking about, I'm going to go on a juice cleanse after the baby. He's like, all right, you're getting one. And I got one today. So it's quite funny that you say that because the wrong person would hear that and be like, well, how dare you? Because
because I'm perfect the way I am.
Nobody is perfect the way they are. Nobody.
And let me say something. It's also, I think it's just listen, it's a mismatch in relationship because he's a 2%er, right? When I say 2%er, he's like 2% of the workforce that when he's not at work, people notice, where the other 98%, he's like, oh, that guy's on vacation. He's high motivated in what he does. If it's working out, and she's really not. It's a real bad mismatch. But she got pregnant before they got married, and an Italian's thing to do is you marry the person and you stay with them. That's the way he has always felt. But it's been I'm telling you, when I say it's the worst relationship I've ever seen in my life.
Wow. Say this crazy because I'm sitting here thinking, like, is this married people reach out to your friend night? Because I'm going through the same thing. That's why I keep texting, because I got a married friend who is like breaking down, and I'm like, okay, I'll call you after that. But it's like, damn, like.
Just imagine talking to somebody and you hear the drums beating from the parade in the background, and he's drunk, just crying out to him. It's just like,
no.
Well, let it be known though, being a 2%er doesn't take you out of the 80%, right? So that doesn't take you out of the bell curve where man is, So you got like this bell curve, right? And that big part of the bell, that's where the general populace is of males. And you could have extremely like high functioning, very powerful people within that. Okay. But that's kind of like, even amongst sheep, there's an alpha sheep, right? And I'm not going to bring in like alpha, beta. I can't stand all that stuff, but you know what I'm saying? In nature, there's the dominant sheep, but it's still a sheep. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then on the outsides of the bell, you've got men, and you've got, the invisible losers, black pill guys who just given up on everything. You know what I mean? So yes, he's a 2%er, but here he is like crying over his wife, and he's gotten himself into a pickle, which, there's a guy that I coached from about 2 years ago. And he was Manhattan guy. He worked on Wall Street, very wealthy. He, owns a penthouse apartment in Manhattan. He's part of the International Car Club, one of those things where you pay a monthly fee and you have access to a fleet of, gorgeous foreign sports cars, basically. From Maseratis to Lamborghinis to Bugattis, like whatever you want. And you're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to take the Bugatti, upstate and just drive like a fucking maniac on, like, just for fun, right? And this guy, you would look at him, tall, really good looking, very well dressed, well mannered, and he couldn't hold down a woman. Women went through him like a hot knife through butter, because they would come to him with his externalness, right? And he didn't have any core being. So once they saw that, and were like, oh, great, this is awesome, gravitated towards that. Look at this high functioning, awesome dude that visually, lifestyle, you're just like, holy shit, look at this guy. And then they get in there and spend a little bit more time with him, and you're like, oh my God, I'm like slowly learning that I can just wrap him around my finger a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And then the respect and the attractions just starts slowly taking a nosedive. And then some of them stuck around longer than others because they're like, well, shit, at least I can get like, some trips to Tahiti and, but and then it's like duty sex and things like that. And then other women just like, no, you know what? I can't even, I don't care how good looking or wealthy you are. I just can't. And they were out faster.
I'm fucking screaming inside.
So some stuck around longer, some passed on faster, but the point is that like, you could have these 2%ers, but they're still part of that 80% bell curve.
I got you.
You remember when we were having that debate, Lily, about Andrew Tate?
Yep.
And I forgot, such and such was saying he was what? That he was
charismatic.
He was charismatic.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you don't freaking understand. He has the bells and whistles, but if I sat across that man, I would be repulsed within the hour. A woman knows that is all he is. He's tall. He got the leather jacket. He has the raspy voice. Any woman that just doesn't want to hang around because he has money is going to dismiss him. And he just couldn't grasp that. He couldn't know. Well, even women that don't like him, after they sit next to him, they like him. I said, they do not. He has money. He has clout. But any woman is going to be annoyed rather quickly. He is not charismatic. And I was trying to explain that. And this man kept insisting, no, women like him. He's charismatic. I was like, you know what? Okay. All right. You tell me what women want. Never mind.
No, that dude is a fool.
I just want to say something to the chat.
To
Black Republican. No, just one second. Black Republican nonsense. It's her duty to get herself back in shape. That is what real feminine women do. Here's the thing. The point of leadership is that real leadership creates an air of expectation. Okay? It creates a morale, meaning that you already know that a certain degree of expectation is put on your shoulders without me saying a thing.
Ooh.
So you think that you actually, the duty is on you to actually lose weight and do whatever. No, the incentive has already been there. It is already, the degree of expectation has already been created. And you know that before you step into this home, a certain thing is expected of you. Now, if you are going to put that on your woman is going to subconsciously think that, hey, you're lax, you're lazy. You do not know how to create a degree of expectation in the home. So yeah, I do have a gut. So yeah, I am going to keep on these 50 fucking pounds. Yeah, I am going to do this. Yeah, I am going to speak to you in a particular manner because you did not do certain things that honestly didn't need to be spoken. Now here's the thing. A lot of these Manosphere guys teach you one thing and one thing alone. They teach you how to take credit for a great relationship and blame women if the shit goes wrong. That's not leadership.
Yep.
I love that because I love that because he's like, and a lot of guys do this, right? They're like, well, no, it's up to the woman. If she was really a feminine woman, she would lose the own weight. And here's the thing, the women that don't lose the weight, who remain big after having children or whatever, they feel like there's no expectation from the man. What do you look like, man, person? What do you look like? If you sitting over there, munching on the Cheetos, what is she going to lose weight for and get a six pack and get feminine for what? To hang out with you?
No, actually, Jen, that's not the point. It's
what
not.
Is it?
No. I mean, you almost had it. Okay, so a boss of a company isn't going to perform worse than one of their employees, right? It's going to perform better than the employees. He's going to set an example. Okay, so he's not going to be sitting there with a tub of ice cream, chowing that down and having her say, well, look at you. You're just sitting there eating ice cream. What am I doing it for? You're eating a whole tub of ice cream and getting, overweight. It's more so him setting the example and saying, look, no, we're not, there's no sweets in the house. We're not eating sweets, right? We're not eating salt. That is just not being bought. and that's setting an example, that's setting the rule. And because leadership starts with leading yourself first, right? So if I'm going to expect this of my woman, I'm going to make sure that I'm on top of me, right? And so it's not like an attraction thing. It's more of like setting an example by leading the self first. And so that can get intimidating too, right? Like I have been in those situations in the past where I started, working out again and getting really fit. And then she's like, oh shit. Like, his hotness scale just jumped up a couple bars,
Right.
and so that'll set in a little bit of panic and be like, oh, like I think I need to get my act together.
Right.
Next thing you know,
So
doing calisthenics and stuff. And
yeah, maybe I explained it wrong, because that's exactly what I meant. Like maybe I explained it wrong. I was specifically talking about Black Republicans' comment where he said it's all on the woman. And I agree with you that if the man is leading, the woman is automatically going to want to look good. So when I said you're sitting there eating the tub of ice cream or the Cheetos, it's usually those guys that are sitting there eating the tub of ice cream that want the woman to be fit, feminine, and friendly. And I'm like, you're not even leading with that.
Right.
You want her to be fit, feminine, and friendly, but you're sitting there with a tub of ice cream. Where a man that takes care of himself and leads himself, a woman is automatically going to know, if I'm going to be here under this roof, I got to meet him where he is. And it is intimidating. Like a guy look good and women are like, oh my God, what do I look like? So I just meant him, like when he said, well, it's up to the woman, not up to the man. No, it's up for you to lead.
And let's look at what he's leading her and him to do. See, notice all these men talk about, I'm a leader and lead and blah, 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 and follow it. Well, I'm not following you off a cliff, sir, right? And it's like, tie my shoe and da-da-da. It's like, no, this we're referring to healthy leadership,
right?
Right. And so then you get mad and it's like he's leading himself because it's healthy, because it's the right thing to do, and it's like, I want the best for me first, and I want the best for you. So I'm going to start with me, make an example. So it's like, that's what they fail to realize. What do you want me to follow you to?
Yeah, exactly. There has to be a point to it, right?
Yes.
So in a DS dynamic, I stress that dominants have a reason for implementing a rule. Right, there has to be a reason, and a lot of times they don't have reasons. They just do it because they want to do it, because they want to feel dominant. But and then they end up being domineering, right? And so that becomes a problem, because now they're just wanting control for control's sake, so they can feel better about themselves or feel in a more superior position, and that's not domination, right?
Don Levon said, studies show that only 10% of men have leadership qualities, so women are shit out of luck. I know the other 90% are usually in my chat.
Well, but the thing is, though, is that leadership, it's not leadership qualities, it's leadership skills, right? It's adopting a mindset and understanding of yourself and learning how to implement them in a form of skill. Leadership can be learned, right? It just takes sometimes some men a greater shift, right?
You think
and they have
so?
to work a little harder. Yeah. Yep. If they want, you have to want it first, right? And then you got to look at what's holding you back from being where you want to be. And those roadblocks can be really big for some and really short for others. And they can be really deep for some and really shallow for others. So it just depends on how much you want to get to it and be that person and understands the responsibility that comes with that. It's not like free sailing. Once you become, a leader, it's like it actually is more work.
Yes, because it's more expected from you. And that's the other part that people fail to realize. It's like, okay, you want this role of a leader. Now you know that there's much more expected from you. It's not some like, oh, I'm a leader, or just like
more expected from yourself, because you have to come to terms with why you want to lead and what you want to lead for. So that comes back down to your principles and what you stand on, and the reason why you're wanting to be in this position in the first place. And so it all comes back to yourself, right? If you want to be in this position so you could have something external, then you're in it for the wrong reason, right? So I could lead a woman. No, it's like, it's all an internal thing. And then the way you do it, if that resonates with a particular woman and she's like, oh, I like how he's doing his thing, then he's like, okay, you can come into this 5-star Michelin. These are the fucking rules. This is how we operate. If you dig it, great. I'll pull your chair out for you. If you don't, that's cool. There's another place down the road.
Love it. I have a question because I'm stuck on the leadership thing when it comes to nature versus nurture. Do you think that there's a possibility that the guys who end up wanting it at some point in their life already have that gene in them, that thing already just dormant in them? Because it's hard for me to believe that leaders can be created from someone who just doesn't have that thing already dormant in them.
Yeah, like you have to want it. And so if you don't have a want, then you don't have that seed that you're talking about. Gotcha. You know, and somebody can want it and have no barriers, and they become natural leaders very easily, right? There's some people who have that seed, they want it, but they have barriers due to life experiences, childhood stuff, and so on and so on. And then there's some people who don't have that seed, and they still want it, and they end up becoming controlling jerks, right? And there's some people who don't have that seed and don't want it, and they just become followers, and that's okay. Like, it's not cut out for everybody, right? You know, there's not like one true place, you know, being like dominant masculine man. That's not for everybody. You know, you can be like you can be a submissive masculine. You can be a feminine dominant. Like you can be a feminine submissive. There's many different ways about this. You know, it's just
I'm a feminine dominant. You bastards.
Yeah. No, you are a feminine dominant.
Is there such thing as a submissive? Because that couldn't be anything else.
No.
You're double submissive.
No, a feminine submissive. Yeah.
Oh,
so
feminine submissive. Okay.
Yeah. So feminine can go to like go to dominant or submissive. So you can have a feminine submissive or a feminine dominant, and masculine can go to those. So you can have a masculine submissive and a masculine dominant. And no position is better than the other. You know, it's just kind of figuring out like where you actually feel more grounded and operating from that.
Amazing. All right, guys. I think are we going to keep going or are we going to close? It is up to y'all. Haran wants to close. I mean, I'm up, but it's only 10 o'clock for me.
Yeah, I can rap for a little bit more. Like I told you, I hit insomnia, and I'm just like, all right, I guess I'm up.
Yeah, so how long? Like 30 minutes.
Say again. Well,
I have to pump milk in like 30 minutes.
I remember those days.
Haran, what you want to do? No, Saint. What are you doing? What's everybody doing?
Yeah, my battery's running out, so I'm gonna go ahead and close it up.
Okay.
I got to be up early. It's already
me too.
Hours, so I'll be up early.
All right. Well, thank you for hanging this late.
Yeah.
I know.
But listen, it's always a great show when Mr. Justin's on here.
I know.
This was good.
I know. We would have had him longer, but I was late. That was my bad. Fly Mike, why do you want to know? You want to be my man? Send your application to On the Block with Jen at Gmail.
See, that's a feminine dominant. Feminine dominants operate under transactions. They're very they're very value aware. Like you do this and I'll do this. Right?
It's like value. Let's get to what are we doing? What are we doing here? What are we doing?
Yeah, so someone asked me about like, does my dynamic extend outside of the bedroom? And like, I don't know if you can see this, probably not because of the glare, but I've got a list of 13 things that are for public rules.
You said public rules?
Public rules, yeah, like rules of engagement, like in public, you know. So like number 4 is when out, I will never sit before he sits. Right?
Shit.
I will look for his consent when someone else wishes to speak to me. Right. And that could just be like an I, like, okay, yeah, like you can speak to that person.
I like that though. See? For me, it's
See,
Yeah,
you
I'll
had
never.
your work cut out, then you know, Jen. On
Never
your
walk in.
private island with your dom.
Right.
Right. So nobody can see you being a feminine submissive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love it.
I like that. You know what it is? You know what turns me on? I like that. I like men that are powerful and lead with confidence, not men that want control. There's a difference.
There's
Some
a
men
big difference.
like Lady Luck said, like some men want control. I like men that is like, you gonna do what I say because I am the man, and they just exude it. And I like that. I like, can I talk to him? I love that.
Like the control is actually not sought after. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like an invitation. That's really what it is. It's an invitation to control. So it's never, I want to come out here, you know, and I'm sure like everyone's familiar with this in groups and online and FetLife and all that stuff, like, you know, where they really, you can see them immediately and they want control right away. And it's like, oh, well, you want that because everyone wants what they don't have, right? So if you don't have control, you're immediately seeking it, right? And when you have it, you're just like, yeah, like whatever. You know what I mean? If you've got like a refrigerator full of cookies, you're like, yeah, whatever, fuck it. Like take 10. I don't give a shit, you know? And so when it comes to that having control, it's an offering. That's right. So it's an invitation. Say, hey, you want to come over and be controlled? No? Okay. Right. Oh, you do? All right, cool. So this is what would look like. And you just lay it out, right? And then you kind of look it over like a menu and just like, okay, that sounds pretty good. You know, I'll have the steak and broccoli.
Do you think that creates a problem in marriage because marriage gets monotonous and it's kind of like, well, I got the lady, I got the man, like the cookies in the fridge?
Right. Well, it becomes monotonous due to lack of creativity, no leadership, no vision, you know, no guidance of their own part. But, you know, it's not, it's also not having any sort of these things, right? People get into relationships, they get into marriages without any kind of plan. They're just like, oh, I like this person, let's get together. And that's usually like how most people form relationships. They form children this way. They form marriages this way. And they rely on that silly contract between, you know, them and their church or them and the state. And they kick back and they relax. Okay. And they think that the institution of marriage will hold them together. And it's like, no, you have to actually create a structure in order to hold them together, right? And that requires the man to do this, or the let me just say, it requires the dominant to do this, because I was reading a recent study from it's a UK newspaper or magazine, and it said that 10% of relationships, at least over there in the UK, have a dominant woman in the relationship, and they're happy being that way. And so, like, that could be greater, you know. Who knows?
That's so funny. One of my closest friends lives in the UK.
Yeah.
She's married and she's the dominant one.
Right.
And they're so happy. Like they're
right.
good.
Exactly. And that raises another problem, because guys have this stigma like, oh, I have to be like that. Like Jen just said, oh, I love a guy like that. Okay. And then they hear that and go, oh, well, I must be that way to say, get someone like Jen. It's like, well, no, why don't you figure out how you want to be and find somebody who fits what that is. Right.
Yes. Because I've dealt with guys like that, where it's like they kept up with me, and then years later you start seeing the layers fall off to who they really are. And I've been like, you weren't really like this or about this life. Then you see them morph back into who they are. And I'm like, you didn't have to front for me, buddy.
Reason why I don't date fans, because they're going to try to mold to the person that they think that you are through the tube. And you're like, no, that's like, you want the illusion of me.
Yes. That happens a lot, like when you date online. People see you online.
That actually that happens in real life all the time. What you're saying, Lily, like because guys will have this vision of what they think the woman is just by looking at her, and they'll create all sorts of like mental constructions and beliefs about what she is, what she's about, and then usually try to appeal to that. Just, you know, to keep her, to get her, to stay on her good side, to remain from being rejected, and you know, getting into those states.
Real
So before we close, this was amazing. And Justin, please, you are welcome here every single Friday if you like. We can talk about different topics, or even topics that you want to bring and share. By all means, please just slide in the DMs. So before we go, last comments. What do women really want in bed? Boop, boop, boop.
They want their orgasms to be controlled.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
I would say to Phil.
What happened, Brianne?
Oh, I heard someone else talking. I would say to feel as comfortable outside of the bedroom as I am inside the bedroom. So like I said, the main thing for me is like feminine submissive, I think was the term. So when we're out on the street, I want to feel like I'm protected. He has everything under control. Come home, everything is still under control. So I want both.
Nice. Very, very true. Be in control, damn it.
Right.
Once I start veering into I'm controlling the situation, you start shrinking to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyone else, or are we done?
And chocolate.
And chocolate. How can we forget chocolate? And lots of chocolate.
I got some chocolate sitting right over there.
So here's a good answer to the basic question. And to your point, Jen, you know, guys, learn and be comfortable with saying no, because women, despite what they might say in the short term or what they might say out in public, they love hearing no. Love it.
Don was saying that the other day. Don Levon was saying that. You know what's funny? It was short-lived, but my ex, sometimes I would ask for stuff and he started doing this thing where he'd be like, and I was like, I think my nipples got
exactly.
And he didn't do it. And he didn't do it on purpose. He didn't. He was like, "Look, if I can do it, I can do it, and when we can't, we can't." So I started asking for shit just so he could be like,
No.
He would just say it so casual, and I was like, maybe I want it.
Hot. It is hot. And honestly, to the point where that's so important for me that I test those things early on. And if there's so
many things that you can do.
I'm like, no, you're not for me.
Right. I think men should concentrate on being that type of man versus forcing women to be fit, feminine, and friendly. I think they should concentrate more on being that type of man, and women will follow. That's nature.
Say no.
There you go. That's the answer. Just say no, guys.
Say no to pussy. Say no to requests. Say no to everything.
Just say no.
You'll get more box you can ever dream of.
No, Saint. Say no.
Yeah.
Well, your wife is Colombian. She may throw a glass at you. You say no to her. Que no, mira, carajo, cabrón. Yeah, maybe a different conversation. All right, guys. So
I'm about 1%.
Yeah, all right, we're out of here. Thank you so much for giving me your time tonight, guys. I love you all. You know, we're gonna do, if you're in the mood, Sexy Saturday tomorrow. We can come up again and talk about something else completely different. We'll do a Sexy Saturday for anyone interested.
Awesome.
That bat time. Okay.
So I got all of my gifts. Thank you so much. Bunny loves them all. I just got them all, I think, last week. I had the Rona, so I'm still getting over that.
Oh,
I got all the gifts. Thank you.
You're so welcome. I was like, get these gifts, damn it, now. Yeah, and I kept getting dates like, it's coming February. I'm like, send all the gifts at the same time. But I'm glad you got them all.
3 separate trips, but I got them all now.
Okay, good. Yay. Kiss Bunny on the forehead for all of us, our block baby.
I will.
All right, guys. Good night. See you tomorrow. Whoever's available, just look out for my thumbnail. I think of something crazy for Sexy Saturday.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Justin. We appreciate you.
Good night.
Good night. Good night, guys. Last super chat of the night. Thank you so much, Don Levon. Don Levon says 90% of what women say and do is a test to see what you will say or do. So don't be afraid to tell her no. I can't even disagree with that, though. I can't even disagree with that because I've experienced it. So listen to Don Levon and me and Mr. Justin. Just say no sometimes just to see, because we will test you. Women will test your armor, right? And not even in a malicious way, not even in a bad way. We're just testing to see if you're worthy to protect and provide. That's all. See? Okay. All right, guys. And we are out. See you tomorrow for Sexy Saturday. Good night. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Don't forget, if you want to support Mama and keep the church lights on for me, hit my Cash App while I'm asleep. It is scrolling on the bottom. It is also on the block, Good night.